just to let y'all know, the live stream started now, so that I can get it going before the meeting, so.
Hey, how's it going? Head down.
You were buried.
Didn't we used to do a sign-in sheet?
Are we good?
For those that are gonna make comments.
Need a blank sheet?
Yeah. You got another white sheet?
Okay. I'm good.
Hi, sir. Seems like a long time ago.
Don't recognize everybody with all the masks on. Don't recognize anybody with the mask on.
Clean rectangular sheet. You need a pen?
Not going to get. I'm going to put a sign-in sheet up here for anybody that is here for citizens' comments. We used to have one out. I don't know why we don't have that. And please, I'm going to write on here, put in your name. All you have to do is fill in your name. If you want to put in your email address or your phone number for us to contact you for follow-up for this, then you are welcome to do that.
Perfect, thank you.
And if you guys use this thing over here, just use the sanitizer first, please.
Going.
Did Phil say how late he was going to be?
No, he said it shouldn't be too long. He was picking up lumber, but he said don't, start the meeting on, start it on time, you'd be here shortly.
Right on. I wonder where they were getting it. I saw him and Bradford out there this morning on the flatbed.
I don't know, he said he's getting it for the museum over here, and he had to go to San Antonio, it was taking a little longer. And I guess that was about a little after 4 when he called.
Cool.
And so he just said that he might be running late.
Okay, well, we've got a form anyway, so we can get started, and then he can just come in when he gets here.
Right.
Okay.
When he gets here, just announce the time if you don't mind.
Yeah,
When he gets
absolutely.
in.
And then for when we do the citizens' comments, if you guys want to just fill it out when you get up there, that's fine. If you want to do it now, that's fine. It's just a way for us to follow back up with you if you want us to. All right. Are we set?
I've got the recording going.
Okay, great. All right.
Yes, I'll be happy to.
Thank you. All right, let's call this meeting to order. It is 5 o'clock straight up. Roll call, we have everybody here except for Councilman King. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing for the invocation. Councilman Carey.
Join me in prayer, please. Dear Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity we have to do the business of this city and give us guidance, inspiration, understanding, wisdom, and help us, Lord, to do the best job that can be done, that we can do. And please get all these people, all of our members and our citizens home safely tonight. These things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go, I'm going to give it a little bit of a precursor. So we're going to go into citizens' comments. When you get up to the podium, please state your name and your address. If you would like to fill out your contact information on the sheet that's up there, please just use a sanitizer before you use the pen. We do have, but stick around afterward because we are actually going to be addressing this 2 times during the meeting. Primarily, we'll actually have a discussion, so we'd like you to stick around for that. So with that, can I open it up for citizens' comments?
First, Phyllis Santladen, 109 River Knoll. And I do know that Mr. Schuhart is your airport liaison, so he should be involved in this, I believe. First thing I'd like to say is, according to open meetings, the time of council meetings should be decided by the citizens and not council. This is awfully early and it's very difficult to get here at 5. I almost didn't make it myself. But what I'd like to talk about is the Medina Valley Youth Baseball, which I feel is the only remaining thing that Castroville has since it started. Baseball is in the city, it's in our hearts, maybe not in yours because possibly you don't have children that play baseball. The square was one of the first baseball fields, I believe. Baseball is in us. It's something that our kids, grandkids, they play and they love it. And grandparents love it. And parents love it. And they all go to the stadium to watch the kids play baseball. Not real happy about it being at the airport now because originally, 1949, Castroville was given the airport land. Stipulation is that it was given to the citizens of Castroville, not the airport manager and council. It was given to the citizens. It was given to the citizens for the best use, the use they felt was best. So through the years, I believe they paid $1. Then when Mayor Lee decided to profit or make the airport profitable, and some say he actually got rid of the FBO that was there because by shortening the runway because he couldn't use jets anymore. Don't know if that's true or not, but I do know it cost the city a lot of money. Right after that, Mayor Lee lengthened the runway and moved to Country Road at our expense. Mayor Lee also, and his council, I'm not sure who they were, decided that we would lease, the airport would lease to Mayor Lee's citizens who are paying taxes and paying utilities. He would make them pay the lease for that land because the airport wanted money. I believe it was Mr. Hart at that time, I'm not sure if he was an actual appraiser, that appraised that land and decided it was worth, I believe, $8,000 a year or something like that. I can't remember. All my records are here in the office. I left them when I resigned. I believe it was $8,000. And the Medina Valley Youth Baseball, the parents were mainly from here and knew the history of that area, said, wait a minute, it was $1. All of a sudden, we're going to have to pay a lease? Yeah, and you're going to pay water too. But never mind, the airport manager and the park person says that airport has its own well that's not a municipal well. It doesn't have municipal water. Never mind. Let's let the citizens pay for the water through the parks. So we'll just funnel that money through the parks. I don't know how they're getting the $8,000 for the lease for the ball field from the citizens and how it's getting through. I know that they're also charging citizens for the lift station land, a lift station that doesn't even work, or they were, perhaps they stopped. I also know your water acquisition funds were used to fund a loan for the airport. In any case, when I was mayor, there were at least, as I researched, because I believe in history, as I researched, there were at least 40 leases there, because I went through the city minutes.
Excuse me, Phyllis, respectfully, we do
All
need
right.
to keep it a little
Thank
bit shorter. Okay,
We got some background to work on.
all right, cool, thank you. All right, do we have somebody else? Mr. Beck?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, members, city staff. Terry Beck, I reside at 104 Harvest Moon. I want to do a follow-up with y'all. I was here a couple of weeks ago about the nightmare water bill and sewer bill that I have, and I just want to let y'all know I did get with Public Works. They came over and looked at it, and there is some kind of mystery leak on my side of the meter, and I've been in contact with a company that specializes in this, but due to the many problems that probably occurred out of the freeze we had, they're backed up pretty bad. But I just want to let y'all know I did follow up on that, and I told you I would do my part to help in the situation. And I'm a little bit worried because I don't have any visible signs of a leak around my house, so that generally means that it's somewhere in the slab or within the slab. But I'm going to do what I can, and I'm going to keep following up with y'all because I told you I would, and I'm a man of my word, what I tell you. As far as the baseball fields and the baseball organization, all I'm going to tell you is this. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into putting that facility together, and there is a lot of financial benefit to this city because of the Youth Baseball Association. It comes in the form of restaurants, gas stations, retail stores on any given week or weekend when they have an event out there. It brings a lot of revenue into the city. And I understand what the situation is. It has to do with the grant assurances that we got through TxDOT and FAA Aviation. But I'm going to ask this council to do everything you can to come up with some kind of fair agreement so that we can continue to keep our kids out on the ball fields and not out on the streets late at night doing things they shouldn't be doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks for the follow-up. All right, who's next?
Now the time to talk about the legal.
Well, I would encourage you, get up for citizens' comments. We're going to have a discussion with you, so we would like you to stick around. For citizens' comments, just please try and keep it to about 3 minutes, and then we'll go through more discussion as we go through.
Hey, gentlemen, ma'am. My name is Brian Zinsmeyer. I'm a commissioner with Medina Valley Youth Baseball Association. Don't know if y'all are aware, but we last year voted as a board, and we're very much about our community, and we were able to have a league last year. There were so many people that wanted to come in, nobody around. San Antonio, Helotes, nobody was ever able to have that. So when any decisions are made, about a league and the integrity of the league, we shut it down. We did not allow anybody because we did not want to get anybody infected or bring any types of diseases in here, even though that our small businesses do depend on stuff like that. It helps them out. But other than that's all I have to add right now, and I guess we'll discuss the lease.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for coming in. All right, next, and please do state again your name and your address. Oh, that's fine. I was saying for the next folks, just state your name and your address. You're fine.
Next citizen's comment.
Oh, Brian Zinsmeyer, Casualty Tech, 479, County 473, Casualty, Texas.
Okay, thanks. All right, do we have anybody else who wants to speak for citizens' comments? All right, great. Oh, sorry, we got another one.
My name's Patrick Connor. I live at 811 Washington Street, and I'm on the Parks Advisory Board. And at our last meeting, I can say that all the members of the Park Advisory Board applauded the Medina Valley Youth Baseball Association for the work that you've done, and that we're here to help and support and keep baseball alive in Castroville. We're currently having a public meeting on Sunday at the park at 2 o'clock. We're in the process of developing a master plan for all the parks in Castroville, all the open areas, all the parks, future and current parks. And we'd like everybody to come and express their opinions at this meeting. You can also go online, the city website. There is a survey form to fill out. Please fill out that form, put any comments and questions you want on that. All that survey information is going to be gathered up, and we rank it for how we're going to determine where we're going with our parks in the future. So I'm just offering, we've met with every organized youth sports except the baseball guys, and I'm interested in offering an opportunity to meet with you guys and discuss this in person. Our next board meeting will be March 16th at 6:30 at the Rec Hall at the park.
It's a Tuesday.
So I'm encouraging everybody to show up. Tell your friends to come to the meeting on Sunday at the park at the amphitheater, 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem, I just want to make this clarification just for the benefit of those present. Under state law, in the old days, you only had the opportunity to speak during the public comment period, but if you aren't aware, that law changed fairly recently, and I think it states this on the agenda, but the public's allowed to comment on any item that is on the agenda. Obviously, these guys have a meeting to run, so if you do have a comment to make, we'd ask that you keep it formal, come to the mic, wait to be addressed by the Mayor Pro Tem, and we'll move or proceed in that manner, I guess.
Perfect, thank you. All right, do we have anybody else in the audience that wants to speak? Do we have anybody?
There's a lady right here.
Oh. Yeah,
You
come
don't
on
have to
in.
register, but you can come in.
Sure, there's a seat right there for you. Yep. All right, do we have anybody online?
No, let me double check. We did not, but let me
Okay.
check. No, we don't.
All right, great. All right. So the next one, let's see. So just to let you know, we have 2 agenda items, but they should be fairly quick that are right before that, and then we'll get into the Youth Baseball Association. Okay, so the next one is discussion and possible action on changes to governor's orders on COVID-19 restrictions and the exiting policy for city staff protection. Did you want to introduce that? Or
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I mean, I think most everybody knows our governor has basically removed almost every restriction related to COVID. The only ones he left in place were actually the remote meeting, the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, and open meetings, TOMA, Texas Open Meetings Act, provisions that allowed elected bodies to meet remotely and do some other things that made it a little bit easier for folks who had to be in quarantine. So those are still in place, but everything else, all the buildings are all the businesses, et cetera, bars are 100%. And he has left it up to, he's basically mandated that all private businesses, the mask requirements are removed. Now, they can establish their own. As we know, Walmart's done, Target's done. There's been a few that have maintained those in place. And he stated that Texas municipalities like ours, that it's up to us for our own facilities. That we can decide whether we want to continue to require masks or what other protocols we want to keep in place. I think I've been, had the conversation with each of you about my personal feelings about the effectiveness of masks, et cetera. So I'm all for opening up and allowing folks to come in. The bigger issue really is 6-foot distance and making sure that you're washing your hands and that you're sanitizing after there's an encounter, whether something comes up. If you're sanitizing those areas, that goes way farther than the mask will ever go as far as keeping us safe and making sure that we don't get sick. So I would suggest, it would be my recommendation, that the city consider that we consider opening up, allowing people in, not requiring masks, encouraging if they feel safer to wear a mask, to wear one, but then continue to follow the other protocols, because I think that's just smart practice in general, whether we're living through this or, I mean, it could just be a bad flu season. Those things are still good protocols to follow, maintain the 6-foot distance, and sanitize and clean appropriately.
As a matter of record, let's record that Councilman King is here at 5:16. Thanks, sir.
We play a trumpet anthem, but the guy went home early, so.
Okay, so I want to cover one thing. I grabbed a quote from the governor's statement,
And he said, today's announcement does not abandon safe practices the Texans have mastered over the past year. Instead, it is a reminder that each person has a role to play in their own personal safety and the safety of others. So this is not an order to take off your mask. Wearing a mask still does add protection for your friends, your family, your neighbors, as does the 6-foot distance, as does the sanitization, good hygiene. We should give people the freedom to choose to take off or keep the mask. This is not an order for businesses to open up to 100%. We should give them the freedom to decide for themselves to what extent they want to open. We should also support and respect businesses who mandate masks for their patrons in an effort to protect their employees. It's a little thing called liberty. So what the council decided when the governor put out his last order was that we were going to follow the governor's orders, that we would fall in line as a state. We would align behind that. If the county provided additional restrictions, then we would follow that. We are a small and mostly careful municipality. We're a small city. I have seen both good and bad implementation of this, and I don't know that the mandate requiring that has helped out as that much. And eventually, we have to open up and use good practices. So. At that, let me open that up for, did we want to make a motion, or did you want to have discussion first?
Now, the biggest thing that businesses are having a problem with is it's just like they have the right to refuse service. No shirt, no shoes. The mask falls underneath the same thing.
Yep.
If a business says they want to keep the face covering going, they have that right. And in the governor's statement and everything,
Yep.
it states, he also stated that if a business has that in place and an individual continues to go in there and not leave when the business asks them to,
And they are
the
trespassing.
business can call the police and they'll get a trespassing notice. But we just got to be respectful of our businesses. It is
Yep.
their call. With that being said, it's an individual's call. I'm going to continue wearing it because I'm high risk. You may not need to because you may not need a high risk. You don't feel it's necessary. So it's each individual's choice, and we got to be respectful of everybody's choice.
Absolutely. Councilman Carey?
I'm also a fan of that thing called liberty, and I apply it to our business owners as well, who have the liberty to make those choices, and I support that. Our position was that we supported and would adhere to the governor's directives, and I think that we should continue to do so.
Councilman King?
I've gotten my vaccines. Mary has, or she's going to get the second one. I don't have to worry about getting sick. But we are going to continue to wear our face masks to protect those around us, because that's what the CDC said. The CDC said yesterday that if you're all been vaccinated, you can all huddle up together and don't have to wear a face mask and take 6 feet apart. But if you're not, then you really should consider continuing to wear the face mask to protect other people. So the only reason I'm wearing a face mask is to protect other people. I do believe that that's the best advice that they can give us. But at the same time, we do need to go by the governor's orders. So I would hope that other people would understand that and agree to follow those CDC recommendations, but it's really up to the individuals. I mean, it's all the governor said is it's an individual responsibility now. So yes, I don't think we can require people to wear a face mask. I think, would we encourage them? I will encourage them, but we can't do it by law. So you know, again, the idea is not to protect yourself, it's to protect others.
Councilman Shearhart?
I agree with about everything that's said. I think we need to open up City Hall. I think we need to have masks recommended. Businesses right to refuse service, just like you said, Councilwoman Martinez. All of those things. I think we need to move forward.
And I think that, honestly, for the city staff, I think that we still need to make sure that we are, my concern with the city staff is that most of the city staff, especially our utility workers, the people that are on the front lines, I think that we should still implement best practices for them. We're still not through this. So as a city staff, I think that we should still maintain that level of protection for one another. We have an obligation to the citizens to keep the city open for business, keep the services running. So I think we need to take an extra level of care for our people, for our staff, and as you determine what that looks like, I think that that would be the best way to do that. So, do I have a motion?
Well, I think our current position is that we would comply and adhere to the governor's directives. Are we planning to change that?
No? All right.
I don't see any reason to.
No action. We will stay the course. We will follow the governor's orders, and we will support our local businesses and take care of our people. All right? Great. Good discussion. Thank you. All right, next we have consent agenda, minutes for February 23rd, 2021, regularly called meeting. Do I have a motion?
I don't hear any complaints or suggestions or corrections. I will make the motion that we accept the consent agenda, approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, now we're going to move into the, let me come up here. So the next item, discussion with members of Medina Valley Baseball Youth Association on the Medina Valley Baseball Youth Association agreement. So we had changed up the order. Scott, can you, would you mind pulling up on the Mayor Pro Tem Report, page 6, slide 6? I just want to jump to that real quick. Nope, too far. There we go.
This one?
Yep, that's the one. Okay. And you are kind of off the...
Yeah, I'll just pull it over.
There you go. Okay, cool, thanks. All right, so I want to go over, just for the benefit, first of all, thank you, everybody, for showing up and showing your support. I want to walk through kind of what happened. So in the last meeting, the city administrator, Scott Dixon, thank you again for that detailed report. He did his job. He identified risks and issues. He's going to be showing you something in a second. He learned some additional items that he's going to include in that report. There were some corrections to be made in that report, but the thing that he had done is to go through, and just like with anything else, he's looking for risks to the city, issues that will cause problems for the city. So he absolutely was doing his job. The newspaper article caused some fear and some misunderstanding. It was very unfortunate. The way that it was phrased, it looked like it was disparaging against the association, against the ball fields. There was even suggestion. I got a panicked call from Jason saying, "What do you?" Because we had just met with Jason like the week before that, in an effort to be proactive about this, because we know that we need to partner with the association, and he was very upset because he was under the understanding that we were trying to close it down. So that is not the case. I posted this as soon as I talked to him. I went through and I read the article, and I got where he was saying about where there was a misunderstanding, where it sounded like there was some intent to close that, and I wanted to make sure that we were absolutely clear there is not that intent. I posted something on social media, on Facebook and on Nextdoor. It doesn't get to everybody, but it's just trying to keep that truth out there. If you want to go by and take a look at it, if you're on either one of those, you're welcome to do that. But I want to be very clear that City Council specifically stated support for Medina Valley Youth Baseball Association. There is no question, there is no doubt. There is no shutting the ball fields down. Bored kids are a dangerous thing. We want to keep them active and healthy and engaged, and this has been a tradition since, what, 1974?
49 is what I heard today.
49 was the airport, 74 was the first.
Establishment.
Right, the establishment of the ball fields. We've had local community involvement with that to such an extreme level. I know that the Groves have put a bunch into this. The parents have, I've heard story after story about parents getting out there and putting up bleachers and putting in irrigation systems and just really locking arms and doing stuff together. So it's a great community event. So it is something, I wanted to make sure that we were very clear that council is, has been and will continue to be in support of the association. The ball fields, they do have to move. The FAA is requiring this. If we do not move them, we are at, we have some possible pretty significant issues that we would have to deal with as a city that we are just trying to avoid. We understand that it's necessary. We are not looking to kick off the association. We're looking to partner with you and come up with good alternatives and help out. So, as with everything else, doing things together is better. We're going to lock arms. We're going to do it together. It's going to be the city, the association, the community stakeholders. We're all going to lock arms and figure this out together. And we also have funding from Alsatian Oaks developer Will Collins of Highway 90 Castroville Partners. That is in phase 4, I believe, of the development, which, what's that? No, I'm pretty sure it's in 4. But it is, it could happen as soon as 2023. I'm guessing it's probably going to get delayed a little bit, but that money, there is money that is set aside to help out with that. And so what we're looking to do is partner up with, I was talking to Royce Grove about this, and we need to find a place to put it. We need to find if we have somebody in the community that has space to do this. This just really becomes an ongoing conversation. So I wanted to be really clear about I apologize for the misunderstanding, and I think it was very unfortunate the way that that was written and the way that it came across. But I didn't want to leave any room for doubt that that is not going to happen. Do we have questions? Let's start with that, and I know that we're going to get Scott in here in just a second, but please, Phyllis, would you step up to the podium so they can hear you on the thing?
Sorry?
Will you step up to the podium? Well, we have people that are watching online. We have quite a few people that are watching online, and we want them to be able to hear.
There's a lot of things that are really unclear, and during my short tenure as mayor, I researched this, as you well know, because there was a meeting in which I asked for legal documents, and I was told no. And the airport manager and some other people did anecdotal information. The FAA is not the same as TxDOT, and you're using them interchangeably, and they're not.
Well, it's
the FAA
requirement
gives TxDOT the money.
So
the FAA and the city of Castroville
would
had
you
a falling
like me to
out
clarify that for you?
a few years ago. FAA sends the money to TxDOT, and TxDOT works with the city to support the projects. However, there's two different kinds of monies that come from TxDOT. There's a ramp grant, which I don't know if all of you are familiar with, but it's a 50-50. City pays 50%, citizens rather, and you've been doing it for years. And FAA down to TxDOT pays the other. So there's a lot of citizen money involved in this.
Are you talking about in the baseball association?
What you really need to do to get people to believe what you're saying, because the story is changing constantly. I do not hear one-sided source for any of this stuff. A person? Can you give us a person from TxDOT or FAA? Can you give us a NOTAM or a flyer or something that says these things? I know for a fact that when the airport was started, they had to go out there and do an environmental review. I don't know if the lights were up there then or not, but in that environmental review, it said no sorghum, no seed crops, no dust, and farming was a very, very bad choice for that land. However, the city of Castroville could waiver it, which they did. And now we're hearing that the youth baseball lights, after all that, and a lift station out at the airport, but the youth baseball lights and I think water, it's just so unclear as to what
Ma'am,
actually
the
happened.
discussion here is on the baseball Association, we cannot deviate from that discussion, so let's keep our...
Sorry.
The discussion, the agenda item is for the Baseball Association. For the rest, I am happy to continue on other agenda items, but we have to stick to this agenda item.
Well, this all has a bearing on what you're trying to do. And I
Okay.
suggest you talk to Mr. Russell or Mr. Richards, he was the lawyer,
Right.
Mayor Lee, and Mayor Garden. They were all involved in this, and they know for a fact that you can't change the lease.
Okay, thank you. And if you wanted answers to any of those, I'd be happy to provide those.
No, I'll write it out for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you, I appreciate that.
You should have all those records in your office.
Yes, and so just, come on up. So we are going through this with a fine-tooth comb. We are doing, we continue to do research, and we continue to get the documentation. We want to make sure that it is in a manner that we can actually present it. It's going to take us a little bit of time to compile all of that. The investigation has been ongoing for quite some time, and so we will work through that, and we will have something to present to the public as we go forward. We have, what do you think the time frame is on that, Scott?
So we're at, as you know, we presented a report to council in executive session with our attorney present to receive legal counsel about the leases and the ongoing activities at the airport, our obligations to the FAA. You all were briefed on every step of that. That report has items in it that our attorney would like to redact for
Right.
legal purposes. So she has that on her desk to do. As soon as that's done, it'll be made public at your direction. You've already, I think that's also part of the minutes of the last meeting. You
Absolutely.
directed us to make that a public document, which
Yep.
we will do. As far as soon, how soon she's going to get back to us, it's on the attorney's desk. But I would expect fairly soon, within 30 days. I mean, it's already been 2 weeks, so maybe another 2 to 3 weeks. We'll have
Okay.
something that we can post to our website that anybody who's interested in kind of the history of the airport, how Castroville ended up with it, what obligations we've made to the FAA and vice versa, all of that will be.
Okay, so we'll have an agenda item to go through that, and that way we can make sure that it's released publicly through the meeting and as a document. I'm going to ask you to hold on for just 1 second. So I've been doing a lot of talking up here. I apologize.
Can I say something?
Yes, absolutely. And please, if we're going along and you need to interrupt, please don't hesitate.
Okay. Yeah, I got to respond what the statement Phyllis made, because I constantly get this from the citizens. The ramp grant is a 50-50 matching, but the city's portion is from revenues at the airport. They don't come out of our taxes. Me as a citizen don't pay for that. It comes off of the rent income, both from the farm fields as well as the hangars. That's the money that's made up for the ramp grant. So it's not coming from you as citizens, it's coming from the revenues of the airport. And that's why the original agreement set up.
Councilman King, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
We're getting.
I was going to tell you, so Councilman, there were a number of factual items that were, I guess, stated as fact that are just absolutely wrong. And it's tempting to address all of those right now. We simply can't. We're not noticed for that. It's not part of this public meeting. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of being a public official, is people can get up and say things that are totally inaccurate, and if it's not something that's on the agenda, we can't talk about it. But we can talk about anything related to baseball fields, the airport. While it seems like it's somewhat related, we can talk a little bit about the lease, because that's related. We can talk a little bit about why we're recommending that the lease not be between the airport and the Baseball Association going forward, and some of the other changes, because all of that's on the agenda. But items that have to do with what you were just talking about, I understand where you're coming from. It's frustrating, but.
It's frustrating because I keep getting phone calls from people,
Right.
but it's based on misinformation, so I apologize.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else from council have anything? Okay, great. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead.
Can we turn the lights on? I'm getting old.
This is Brian Zinsmeyer, right?
Yes, sir.
And you have his address from earlier.
So, a couple of things I'd like to address you with, and I really don't want to take a bunch of your time. The things that I have are factual, not opinionated. I'm not a politician, and I don't want to be a politician.
Nor do I.
So, I did reach out to FAA. The airport is not shut down for night flight. It is not shut down for night flight. You can go on multiple things. You can go on FISCA. You can go on Foremost, so an app that we use to fly. However, runway 34 is open 24/7, never shuts you down whatsoever. So you can still fill up an airplane there 24/7. So with that, we would like to see the documentation of really what is the real reason FAA shut City of Cashville down on runway 16. Because it is not the lights.
Well, it's actually in the NOTAM, and it references the lights, but that's something
Those
that...
are old addendums. These are not the new ones that shut you down within the last year. So there was a new statement brought out, and it doesn't have anything to do with all the old stuff that was sent.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. So, well, when we met last, one of the things when we talked to Mr. Bippert was I'd been told there was a letter from the FAA, but there wasn't a letter from the FAA. That everything we found was old, like you're saying. What we did find was the NOTAM that was issued this year, and it references the lights. But that's as much information as the city has at this time. And like you, we've reached out to the FAA to try and get a more clarification. What do we need to do? How do we work with the Baseball Association? Because we prefer it stay open, and we know that the Baseball Association has worked diligently in the past to actually correct those issues. So if these issues are correctable, and we can come to terms with the FAA and make it so I think everybody's on the same page, but unfortunately FAA hasn't been forthcoming with exactly what the issues are. So we're still digging into that.
But you just said that you're not releasing all the information that FAA gave to you because your attorney said, not just yet.
Yeah, you're right.
So there is a report.
Yeah.
I know there's a report.
Yeah.
I've been told there's a report. So anyway, not to get into all that, but we're not here. I could make more money by not donating every year. I can make more money by not going to teach kids, and I love to teach all kids. If I get a phone call on Sunday, this past Sunday, hey, my kid doesn't even know how to play ball. You got time? Absolutely. What team is he on? Because I don't know. We're not here for that. I'm here for the growth of the kids, and that's it. And my whole family has been that way forever, you know.
Thank you.
I don't want to take all your time, and I really don't know how to hit the points, but why is this an ongoing issue? Why can't we just say right here, right now, okay, you know what, everybody vote on it? You all have the power right now to vote on it and say, hey, we're going to give you a 5-year, this amount, we move forward. Renew it in 5 years. Y'all have the power to do this, and then you never have to hear from the Little League again, other than little minor stuff. Am I right or am I wrong?
So the question is to make the decision for, I'm sorry, probably easy like that. So the request is to make the decision to extend the lease for 5 years? Or to
come up with a solid lease agreement.
I think that we have a solid lease agreement for now. We're going to be going through that. So we know that we can't fix this overnight. We know that it needs to be fixed. And quite honestly, there's a safety concern as well for the kids. And so this is something that we want to, like the airport board had come back and recommended a 1-year extension, and we all know that's too short.
Yes, sir.
The quickest that we could get anything done on this is going to be probably 2 to 3 years, and I would be amazed if we could do it that quickly. We could begin the process in 2 to 3 years. And so what we're trying to do, and this was all in the discussion from our last council meeting, so please correct me if I misstate anything here, but what we had stated was that we want to extend the, we don't want to have a break in the seasons. We want to make sure that we extend it as far as is practical, and then find a way to do that move. And we're not asking for the Baseball Association to front the money. We're, as a city, with the stuff that we're getting, with the money that we're getting from developers, the people that are coming in and requiring resources from the city, these are our resources that they're requiring. So we're also requiring them to pony up some money to help out with things that benefit the community, and this is one of them. So we are looking to fund the move with the money that we're going to get from Alsatian Oaks. it will probably just, in talking to Jason, it'll just about cover the move. We still need to find the property.
So are you talking about the 1.5 that was set aside for that Alsatian Oaks?
There's up to 1.5 that can be spent on youth sports or other amenities.
Okay.
To me, I think it makes sense for us to be looking at a sports complex, and the first component of that is the youth sports. That is the biggest need for us right now, is getting that, and plus you're out of space, and figuring out how that, and this is going to be done through the master plan, the Parks Master Plan. So figuring out how do we look at not just what do we need for right now, because if we just replaced what's there right now, it's still not going to be enough. So we need to look at how do we make sure that that is expanding so that it fits your needs with the anticipated growth in the area. So this is something we want to do with you.
Well, a couple of business owners and myself, we've discussed it. We've kicked it around for years because it'd be one heck of a retirement plan. And you're looking at $3-4 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably pretty close, and that's
Yep.
if you're doing some of it yourself. The other issue I have with the FAA, and this is the last you're going to hear about it.
Sure.
I don't personally believe, it's not a fact, I don't personally believe that FAA is ever going to open up runway 16 from the north, flying south, because of Walmart.
That's very possible.
So
Yep.
if you're talking about the league and now we're having to move this and we're having to move that, all we're doing is talking, because you can do the research just as I can, and you could probably do it a lot more efficient than I can. I've only had a couple hours a day. But I don't think it's going to happen. So why even build anything else? You really can't use that land for much,
We just have-
improvements and stuff like that. I mean, and then you got the other land that was donated back there, I think on the south side of the runway. 2015, something like that, somebody donated.
Right.
More for a recreational park. What's going to happen with that?
Well, and that's why we're taking our
Extending out
time
the
with this.
runway versus you're going to save yourself money if you don't open up a park. And if it's not doing you any good because you can't use runway 16 anyway, why waste the extra money and now you don't have anything there?
Agreed. Well, it's just going to take time to put all this, there's a lot of moving parts to this. We want to be really careful about this.
No, that's fine. And me, myself, Jason, any of the board members, we'd be more than happy to talk to you about this.
Well, I think that becomes
We
an
didn't come in here
ongoing discussion.
half-cocked or yelling or anything else, But as you can see, we've done our due diligence and we know what we're talking about, and I just like a plan.
So Jason told me that the board meeting got moved on Sunday because a lot of people are going to be out of town. Is that correct? Or for spring break?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just let me know. I was planning on...
Well, no.
You're still
The
having it?
14th.
Okay. So I will still be there on the 14th for that. And this is just in an effort to continue that ongoing partnership. We have to do this together. So it will be an ongoing partnership. Love to have you involved with it. Love to get your feedback, and I appreciate you doing research on this. Again, if we all lock arms together, we're going to find out the right solution. I just want to make sure that you understand that it is not going to be a mandate that is going to be handed to you. It's going to be something that we all figure out together. We do it very much in the open. We do it very much, the only things that happen behind closed doors on this are the legal issues that we are obligated to, but in terms of the approach, in terms of the partnership, that is going to be fully out in the open, and definitely appreciate the partnership.
So how good, are we good for 3 years?
Yeah, if I may, so I want to cover this real quick because we've talked around it, and I just wanted to make everybody else aware of the conversations we've had with Mr. Bippert already and the terms that are being discussed. And maybe that will help clarify some of the concerns and some of the questions that you had. First I want to start with this. So infamously, if you will now, at the last meeting, I made a presentation where I talked about the lease and what was in compliance and what was out of compliance by the league. Unfortunately, for me, and for everybody else listening, I guess, is I was unaware of an email that had been sent by Jason back in January. And of course, I wasn't here when it was sent. So in fact, the association had complied, and I just want to make that real clear. The items, y'all did provide a financial report, you did provide a schedule, you did provide a list of the resident participants, the fee schedule, and a list of current and future improvements. Those were all items that I had as non-compliant because we didn't have them, but lo and behold, they were in an email that I was unaware of. So I've got all that information, and that has been put into a file for each of you council members in your council teams folder. I think I sent an email about that earlier today. As far as the terms of the contract, I don't know if the insurance has been provided or not.
So you are labeled
Do you know
as
who-
an insured
Okay.
on the insurance.
Do we know who that went to, the insurance?
But I forwarded to Jason. You guys are listed on there. You should have sent it
That's,
last week.
okay. And maybe, I just don't know who you sent it to, 'cause I don't have
If
a
you don't
copy
have
of
it tonight, you'll have it by
David,
tomorrow
that'd be
morning. I
great.
told Jason.
Just knowing that we're on there is good, is good. So this is just the major changes or the lease terms that the council discussed the other night, that again, when we met with Mr. Vipper via phone, we conveyed to him and just explained kind of where the council's mindset is. The first action was reduce the term to 3 years. As you know, the contract expired. It originally had 3 5-year term extensions in it, I believe, but none of those were exercised. And the reason for going to 3 years is really, I think, 1 year is too short, 5's a little too long. Certainly it'll go that long if we need it to. There's no one, and I think our Mayor Pro Tem has conveyed this pretty accurately from my interpretation of what the council has stated during these open meetings, is that there's no one in the elected body that wants to see the Baseball Association go away.
Well, then
we want
if-
to be partners and make sure the issue really is driving, it's the FAA, and you stated very accurately, we don't know what the FAA is, what they're doing,
Yeah.
but bottom line, they've got us they've got us on a string, because we have a ton of commitments to them for this airport.
Correct.
And that's the hammer they can hit us with. So we have to abide by what the FAA is telling us we have to do, whether it makes sense or not, to
Yeah.
a certain extent. And I think staff has been very candid with council about those issues. It is frustrating, I think, for your elected officials and me personally, as it is probably for y'all, not to have all the information. I think it's a shame you had to go out and do all that research, because we have done it.
It only
And I
took
just
about
can't
2
provide it
hours.
yet. I'm hoping to get it to you as soon as we can. We wish we would have already given it to you if we had had that chance. So the other items, we want to make sure there's.
One
Go ahead.
second, not to interrupt, but go back to that. So you're all in agreement, you're all for the ball field?
Absolutely.
At some
Absolutely.
sort or another, you're going to have a ball field for these kids to play on.
It's not just in support of, it's not just a tolerance, yeah, we think it's okay. We all think it's a wonderful thing.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean,
no,
there's
agree.
no lack of support
I
from
agree.
here.
What I was getting at is, if no matter what, we are never going to miss one game, then, or one season, then why cut the contract down? If it's in good faith with the council and the city, why are we cutting the contract down? Because in essence, all we're going to be doing is rolling it over into a new contract. We'll be more than happy to break our contract of a 50-year contract. You build whatever it costs, a brand-new facility. I'll be the first one to tell you, yeah, I'll rip up the contract if it's 50 years. So in good faith, why are we knocking it down? That makes no sense. It doesn't seem like, it seems like there's something else going on.
Gotcha.
I think part of the rationale was just to drive that discussion. If it's a 3-year contract, it puts us all on notice, not just the associate, it puts everybody, all the stakeholders on notice. We need to get this resolved. It's also a way of communicating to the FAA. So part of this was to be able to say in good faith, listen, FAA, we recognize you say that this is non-compliant, it's a safety concern, the city is taking steps, and here, look, this is what we've done. We had an agreement that was a 5-year, it was actually I can't remember, original term was 10 or 15 years with another 5 years. Well, we shortened that to 3 because we started a dialogue, and we're setting up committee or whatever we end up taking together to get this resolved. So that's part of it. But I think you're still in Castroville, so you still got the community behind you. You still got these elected officials behind you. But that's why, I mean, to convey both to us collectively, to each other, that look, this is serious, we need to take it seriously, and also, more importantly, for me as a professional, if you will, to be able to convey to the FAA, look, this is what we did, and this is what we're doing to demonstrate.
But that can be written into the contract that, hey, we give you a 5-year contract, but within 3 years, FAA, we will have another facility for you. So that,
Well,
once
we aren't
again,
ready-
that's,
See, we aren't ready to commit to that. I don't think anybody can commit to that yet.
but wait a
We
minute,
don't have
so,
the land.
but are you willing to commit the next 3 years? You're willing to commit 3 years, but are you willing to commit the following 3 years?
I think the best way to state that is that we are willing to commit to whatever is necessary and whatever is allowable. So part of this is because it's a really sticky situation with the FAA, and we have a lot of money at risk for the city, which is for the citizens of the city. There's a lot of money at risk that we want to make sure that we stay in compliance with. It's kind of like you get pulled over by a cop, you want to be very respectful, very nice.
Yes, sir.
You start overstating stuff and it could end in trouble. So it's kind of the same thing with that. It's staying in compliance. Honestly, I see what you're saying. If we could just extend that and just say, you know what, let's just do it for 20 years or 50 years, because that's demonstrating that kind of commitment. But then if it sends the wrong message to the people that can put us in a headlock,
Or a
then it could
contract
cause us
even
problems.
stating that we will take care of all the youth organizations in Castroville. I mean, even a statement of the board, of the council body, I'm pretty sure that would satisfy.
I think that
pretty
we
much anyone.
actually stated that in the last
Did
council
you?
meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
In the last council meeting, we had, and we can pull up the minutes for that one.
If you say it is, then it's in there.
Yes. And that's the thing I'm trying to be really clear about, is that everybody here, and let's actually, can we just have a verbal confirmation of what we discussed last week? The decision that was made in terms of the support for Youth Baseball Association and for youth sports? Did I misstate anything in there, or is there anything else that you want to add to that?
No, my recollection is everybody on the council agreed that we need to support youth sports and the youth baseball. And our intent is, we're not against it at all. We are in support of it. We want to do what's good for you all. But at the same time, we are walking a thin line to make sure we don't upset the guy upstairs who funds everything. But we are committed to the youth baseball. I am. My recollection is the council was.
And to be clear, it is specifically youth baseball, but it is youth sports all up. So I was on the Parks and Rec, I was chair of the Parks and Rec board when we were trying to go through and get the approval for heating the pool. And it was done through a third party. It was done through a partnership between the city and another company. And we got that approved. And it will continue. They haven't heated it, which that would have been really bad right as COVID began if they would have invested that amount of money into getting the pool heated. But the fact is that the council showed their support for youth sports in swimming, in soccer, in baseball, in softball. We are specifically committed to the Youth Baseball Association because that is a very specific thing that has some, where you are right now causes some risk to the city, and we have to be very responsible for that. Soccer doesn't present a risk to the city right now, and so we're not really talking about that much right now. But part of the reason that we got the Parks Master Plan together, and part of the reason that we want to move the contract under the parks, I mean, there's several reasons, but it is to demonstrate that we want to support this just as we do the regional park. Equally with any of the city facilities. These are recreational facilities for the betterment of not just the city, but the entire community. And being good community citizens, good community resource stewards, this is something that we are committed to.
So, Brian, if I may, just to finish out the kind of the contract discussion, there are three main changes. One was the term, we just talked about that. The other, I don't consider it a change, it's just having talked to my staff. A lot of the staff here is newer, haven't been with the city for that long. The association's been around forever, for a very long time. And as I asked different questions of the staff, they didn't have answers. And so what that told me is we need to improve our relationship with the association. So what that says is establish and enforce contract performance process. Really what that is about communication. So whether it's water leaks that are going on out there and our guys going out and turn it off and y'all fixing something and turn it back on and we still perceive there's a leak, but you say there isn't a leak, we need to have better communication and dialogue around those issues. Or trash cans or any of the other issues that would be of concern to the association. and likewise a concern for the city. So that's what that's about. And then the third was the water allowance. I think Jason and I both agreed that the current allowance, neither one of us understood why it was as high as it was, and we talked about going back to the association, relying on the association to tell us what is an appropriate amount. And compare yourselves to the golf course. I mean, how much do they use? How much do y'all use? And let's come up with an appropriate amount and put that in the contract. But all the other terms of the contract remain the same. There are three other changes that are really more administrative in purpose. So one of them would be to remove the east side lift station. That agreement never really should have been in the association's agreement, because as Jason stated on the call, it's not our land. I mean, it's city land. You don't need to make an agreement with us about your land. It didn't make any sense, and we agreed. So that's going to be peeled out. Establishing a land use agreement between the airport and the parks for not only the baseball association, but also for that, or for the baseball section, but also for that lift station. And then thirdly, managing the lease through the parks, as the Mayor Pro Tem just addressed, to make it more uniform and to convey the city's intent to support this association as strongly, if you will, as they do every other sporting group in the city, and also make it a little more uniform so that there isn't, someone getting being treated differently. So that's what that is. And that's, I think, I felt like the call went very, very well. Unfortunately, we had the call, and then this article comes out, and I think Jason left me scratching his head going.
Yeah, he said specifically, I thought we just had this conversation,
Yeah.
and then I'm reading this.
So nothing changed. In fact, I believe that the timing was, we had the council meeting, then you and I, directed by council, went and talked to Jason. So we'd already had the meeting. We went and talked to Jason about these points, and mainly it was just this slide, these items.
We wanted to make sure that it wasn't a surprise to anybody that we were bringing it forward like ahead of time.
We talked about creating a stakeholder group. We talked about working with the ISD and other things that are out of the city's control, but that we would support the association in doing, and talking to landowners and that kind of thing. And then the article comes out, and it's like, that's not what happened at all. But
that was very counterproductive.
That's what newspapers do. They got to sell papers. So I don't envy them. But,
So we will continue that conversation.
Okay.
It's got to be a collaboration, and we will. Part of, I think what he's saying here is, I know what he's saying here, is that there's been too much confusion, there's been too much separation. I feel like what I put up here is that I felt like the city needs to do a better job. We, as elected officials, the city staff, as hired people to run the city, we need to have a closer integration with. So I'm going to state this, and I'm going to give you a disclaimer. We need to have a closer engagement with you. Now, this is not for control. This is for empowerment. We need to figure out, what do you need? What can we do to help you out? Part of this is that we do have to identify, like with the water, and I think that, Scott, thank you for finding that out. There was I think, a misunderstanding that there was a tremendous water use, and I think that he figured out what that was. But it's that open dialogue, that open communication.
Backflow on a pipe and
yeah,
exactly.
a few breaks.
Yes, it's just things. That's a great example of a way that we can be a better partner and be better team players with each other. Is that they were flushing the lines through. They're flushing that tank. When the farmer waters fields, the water gets overchlorinated, it has a bad taste. It's still safe to drink, but it just doesn't taste good. So they were flushing it through the baseball's lines. Well, it's going through your meter, but no one was recording the meter reading. So that's a procedural issue.
Backflow preventer probably failed, probably needs to be checked too.
That wasn't a part of that conversation, but that's my point. Is there's just things like that we can communicate better with the association with. Now, I recognize, I think I told you, my brother does this and has been doing it since my oldest is 18, and since she was 3, so 15 years. And I fully understand when you've got a full-time job, and you coach on the side and do all this other stuff, you don't have a lot of time to come sit down with the city and discuss issues. So I understand that. We need to find a way to be able to communicate, whether it's by text or by email, so that way when there are issues, there's an immediate response, and it isn't a back and forth or he said, she said, or it takes a month, because all that it does cost the taxpayers money in form of lost water and that kind of stuff.
I just want to say that the driving issue in my mind is safety. That's it.
Yes, sir.
That's all I'm interested in. We heard a report that there had been a couple of pilots who were disoriented by the lights, maybe flying towards the baseball fields. I really don't know. What do you remember of that?
Yeah, those are anecdotal reports that our airport manager shared with us that, and I don't, Chuck may know, but he knew of at least 2 instances where pilots did that very thing. They thought that they mistook the field for
Runway
the
lights.
runway.
Correct.
So-
There was
so
there
we
was
don't
those
want-
2 pilots, but they were also in violation of FAA because they were not supposed to be landing on runway 16 per FAA rules. So they're both in violation, and I'd probably keep that quiet.
But it's
Somebody
a
to get in
it's-
trouble.
It's just the driving force is a safety concern.
Yes, sir.
That's it, for the kids and the families.
One more thing to add. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it, hearing from us. Let us know if we can be of any help. Another thing on many of the hangars and many of the government jobs and stuff that I've done through this county and others, I would probably look into a grant, either a 70-30% or a 90-10% with the government to relocate that, maybe under some gray areas of safety guidelines, put that money towards a new park. So not only here to gripe, also solutions as well.
We appreciate it, and it's going to take that. We're all going to have to work together to get this done. So if you can help us, we've got to find the money to do it. We don't have enough money to do this justice. It will be an ongoing thing. It won't happen overnight, but we need to start that process now, get that relocated. And I would love the idea of developing a full youth sports park. We just have to be very careful about the money that's going out. Anything that the city is spending, that's taxpayer monies, and so we're all taxpayers, and we have an obligation to the taxpayers that we represent to be very open about that, and that's one of the reasons for the very minute specifications inside of the contract. The council does support, financially support the ball fields. We just want to make it very clear to the people that we represent exactly how much that is, and make sure that that we're doing everything out in the open. So we'll continue to do that.
All right, thank you.
I'll see you on Sunday.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion from anybody in the audience?
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for what you're doing. I've been on boards, committees all my life. I'm done with it now, but appreciate what you got.
Name and your address, sir.
No, I ain't taking your spot, Todd. You're there.
State your name and your address for the record.
I live close to Todd. I'm on 206 Breeden Street.
There you go.
Your name?
I don't have a kid playing out there no more.
Scott Stein.
Scott Stein, yes, I'm sorry. But I do want to, I've spent a lot of time out there. I'm going to be 60 years old this year. I played on the very first game out there when I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
So it's been there approximately 50 years. Since then, I played, I coached before I had kids, I coached while I had kids, I coached after I had kids. I was on the board for many years. I was president for 14 years, right? In fact, Jason took my spot. There's a few things I want to address. First of all, I know all of you aren't from Castroville originally. I was born and raised here. Them fields out there are there because of local people. There was no money. We built them. Our parents built them, then we kept them up. It started with one field, now it's at 8. I'd like to address Mr. Carey on the runway issue. When I was president, I could probably go back and find out, but I don't remember what year it was. I had to meet, Tim Foose was in charge out there. I had to meet him at 3 o'clock in the morning on a weekday morning. They did a flyover, the FAA. The exact lights that are there now, we did the flyover because we added Field 8, which is a lighted field, the one back in the corner. They did a flyover and they were approved. So the light issue, I'm not buying that. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that.
I'm just going to tell you, so you're absolutely correct. Everything you said, you're right. And we found that notice. They issued a new notice. They did another flyover, didn't call the association, didn't call the city, and issued a NOTAM in reference to lights. But this time around, we didn't have a letter, we didn't have any of that communication with FAA. So I understand, and that's what I was saying, I think there's obviously the willingness on both the city and the association to work together on this. If the FAA would tell us what their issues are, we'll address them. Right now, they've given us limited information, and I don't want to digress too much, but I think it's not all related to baseball. Honestly, I think baseball is just getting the sour end right now, but it's really part of a bigger picture that's going on with the airport development and all that other stuff. So
Okay.
we're just trying to be good partners with the FAA at the same time that we don't want to let them run roughshod over 50 years of history.
Well, and y'all, you did clarify some of the other water issues too. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about. I own Scott's Lawn Service. We actually do the maintaining all the fields. We line the fields. They can tell you what we do out there. Every time we mow them during the season, we mow them once a week at minimum, depending on the weather. Every time there's a water leak, I call Jason or Derek, and we get somebody out there and it's fixed. The water issue, and I think you addressed it a while ago if I heard right, every time that system is flushed, that's going through the meter at the youth baseball meter. And I'm not too sure some of the water that the farmers are using aren't going through that meter.
Shouldn't be, but...
Shouldn't be, but I appreciate if you check more into that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Because
one
this-
we just have to get on top of, so.
So, anyway, that's all I've got. And I think from hearing what I heard, and I talked to the mayor a couple of times on the side, I think you all are in agreement that we cannot leave these kids without a place to play ball.
Correct.
And I think we're all on the same page there. So, thank you guys for what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
If I may make this point of clarity before anybody else leaves, is we have the item on executive session, the baseball discussion. The intent is to leave it on there, and the only reason it's on there is for when we get a response from the association. So the contract with these terms has been delivered to Jason this week. He's going to get it to their attorney and have them look it over and then get back to us. It's a standard contract. I don't expect there to be any issues. But that's the purpose of the executive session. So for instance, tonight, if we still need to meet on another issue, but I just didn't want people thinking, well, hey, we're having all this public discussion, then we go behind doors and talk behind their backs. The only purpose that's there is because this has to do with the lease agreement, and we'll talk about that with our attorney present when they get back to us.
And I think I'm going to restate it just in case that was not clear. The only reason that we go into executive session is to deal with any kind of legal issues that we have an obligation to maintain confidentiality. Those are the details. The higher level, the actual strategy, that's what we talk about in open session. That's what we include everybody with, because that is also our obligation. Okay. Terry?
Terry Beck, I live at 104 Harvest Moon. I don't know for sure, but my gut tells me there's something else. That's just my gut. I'm a pretty sensible guy. And for transparency for everybody involved in this, everybody, if there's outside influences other than the Youth Baseball Association that is putting the city in the situation you're in with the FAA, I think it's only fair to everybody involved that those influences are revealed.
Absolutely.
And that could be in the form of other developments that have already taken place or other things. Because what I'm hearing is it's a safety issue, and we all want to be safe. Nobody in this room does not want to be safe. But something is telling me that there's other things involved. And if there is, I think we'd get a lot further down the road if everybody involved in this situation would know each and everything that could be involved. I'm not saying there is, but my gut is telling me. I think the FAA has some leverage against us for something, and I don't know what it is, but my gut's telling me it has nothing to do with the lights with the baseball fields.
So, and I think I am okay with discussing this at a high level as it applies to the baseball.
I don't know what you're about to say, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, Just stop me if I
Can't
go.
stop.
Maybe you ought to run it by your attorney first.
No, well, he's here to, he's got the.
I have no law practice.
He's got the gavel that he can throw out, and he's got good aim. So we're still working to understand that. So understand that this is something that we've come into. We've been researching it for several months now, with Scott coming in. If you look at what we've gone through just in the past year, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through Snowvid, that's what I'm calling it. We've gone through getting a new city administrator onboarding him. He's done a fantastic job since he's come in. And poor guy has been drinking through the fire hose, and I'm sure that he's sick of my phone number coming up on his cell phone. But we are looking into these things to understand them really, really well. We've identified some potential issues with it, and we have to understand it really, really well. Again, we're not trying to force anything, and we're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to understand it. Okay. And as soon as we understand it, as soon as we have the details, we know exactly what the issue with the FAA is, then we're going to make sure that it'll be on an agenda item. We're going to talk about anything that we can in open session, and I don't see that there's anything from that couldn't be.
Well, and we just have to take the FAA at face value. And at face value, they say there's an issue with the lights.
Right.
That's one of the issues they brought up. They brought up a list. This is one of them. The other one is the location of two of the fields for the baseball, the two that are closest to on the west side. Those two are in an area that they really shouldn't be. So they brought up that. But that's all stuff that we've known about for at least 10 years. So I think this is just coming to a head for the FAA, and I don't know why at this time. Now, they as an organization have their own issues. They have been without a leader, like a top person for 4 years or something. So they have a whole other set of problems that we can't solve. So we're just going to deal with what they bring us and try to be as genuine and as I think open and transparent with the community about the issues we're struggling with, and make sure that we're still addressing the concerns that the community has about baseball. But I mean, I think hopefully everyone walks out the door tonight understanding that there is zero threat to the Baseball Association and to those fields for as long as this council's in place. We have some things we have to do to try and meet some obligations, but hopefully what will come out of this will actually be an improved opportunity for all the youth of Castroville and of the region. That's not going to happen overnight, but I see tremendous support in the community, just from what I've seen out there that's just been built, but also over the years, the land has been dedicated to other things that people are willing to do. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if something really amazing happens out of this process. But again, no one expects it to take 2 or 6 months. It's going to take years. Okay. And so for the foreseeable future, we want things to continue as they are, and we want to continue to be good partners.
I'm confident you all will do a great job. I'm confident you'll do your best.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
And before we lose some of the people that are here, I want to make sure to echo what Patrick had mentioned. Let's make sure that, because we want to make sure that we are looking at all of our parks and recreational facilities equally and substantially. So please do Patrick, the survey is still open, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're on our city website, probably under the parks area, I would guess.
Right. And if you get a chance to go to the planning meeting as well, please make sure that you are
That's the 16th.
on the 16th, voicing your preferences, your concerns, and your support for youth baseball. This Sunday the 14th, at what time again? 2 o'clock?
What time is y'all's meeting?
The 16th at 6:30 is the board meeting.
The baseball meeting is at 7 on Sunday.
It's on 14th.
So on the 14th, there are 2 meetings. There's Baseball Association in the evening, and at 2 o'clock, there's what? So that's a master planning meeting, and then the Parks Board meeting
Is the 16th.
is the following Tuesday.
At
Okay.
6:30.
That way, just make sure everybody's thoroughly confused. Good. All right.
And very busy, yes. All right. So, let's see. All right. I think that is it. Did anybody else want to? And please don't forget to state your name and address.
Okay. It's Trina Keller, and I'm on 199 PR 4775. I think the biggest frustration for a lot of us on the board is that every time someone new comes into the city office, we deal with the same situation. I know that part of it is just the way it goes, but it'd be nice to know, like, that you guys clear the air publicly too, as far as the newspaper. Something positive. I mean, it was a lot of not factual information. You know, but what do we have to look forward to if someone else comes new again in another 2 years? We're going to go through the same thing all over again?
Don't look at me. I'm hoping to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, you have
Right.
to understand, I mean, I've been on the board for 8 years.
Right.
I've been to 3 of these. So it happens a lot, and it's always the same thing.
Mhm.
It's always something that needs to be changed. The whole light thing, I mean, is the airport behind us? Is that,
The airport is not trying to get rid of you, if that's the
so do we
question.
need to have them as part of this whole master plan? Like, are we going to involve someone with their board?
So and correct me if I misstate this, but the airport, so the airport manager is a city staff member, and he reports to Scott Dixon here.
That's correct.
So although the airport, it has to, through our contractual obligation to the FAA, it has to be fully independent, it has to be self-sustaining, it cannot cost us money for the airport itself, and so there are some stipulations on that, but this is something that the city is actually purchasing or leasing or investing money to the airport in support of this. And so the airport will not, if the airport goes against that, the city, or the airport manager goes against that, then he's going against his boss, and he's going against council, and that will not fly. And I'll tell you that David is not against this. He's trying to make sure that he's got good.
I'm sorry, if I may address it. There is a level of frustration that is well-earned. I don't think it's entirely due to the fact that you have new people in this seat. I think some of it has to do with the fact the FAA and TxDOT Aviation does the same thing. I mean, every city I've worked in, and TxDOT, like as an organization, great people. I've worked with some really good peers and partners, but I would meet all they'd come to me and say, okay, you're going to do a parade, and we want you to do this for the parade. You've got to have the routes, and here's the paperwork, and here's the barricades, and this is what you have to do. And I did it all. And the very next year, and we spent, a small town, $14,000 on that, just taking care of that. TxDOT. Yes, sir, we'll do what you want us to do, because we're closing down the highway. Very next year, totally new set. Same people, totally new set of requirements. Sorry, our requirements changed. So some of what we're dealing with from the FAA is that level of kind of, okay, well, they've got a new person at TxDOT Aviation. His name's Mike. I can't remember his last name, but he's been there like 2 years or less. So some of this is from him. He's got a new assignment, and we're in it, and he's going to check all the boxes. He's very analytical the way he addresses his work. He's a fine professional. However, it's putting us through the ringer a little bit because he's making us jump through hoops and prove that we've done everything. You know, we had to tell, you know, he's news. We had to educate him about some of the issues that existed. I guess there was an FAA storage where we stored files, not we, but they, that burned. And so some of the records that were originals that were submitted, they don't have records of anymore. So we had to bring them up to speed and say, hey, this is how this goes. So I fully understand where you're coming from. I wish I could say, well, now it's going to go away. We'll never have to do this again. But it's just part of owning an airport and being beholden to TxDOT or TxDOT Aviation or the FAA or any other federal or state acronym. They have their guidelines change every biennium, every 2 years, at least at the state level. There's changed rules, and we have to comply. So fully on board with you, fully understand where you're coming from, and all I can say is what I've seen, what I've seen so far from this community and from your elected officials is that y'all have a great relationship. Your partnership can be strengthened, and hopefully that's all we're going to try and do. There's no major changes that are being brought forward. It's unfortunate, I guess, the way it was reported, but again, we don't have any control over that either. So, but as long as we can continue to have this dialogue, and y'all, we can look at each other and say, hey, kids are important, right? Baseball's important, right? Yeah, okay, so we all want something new and great for them at some point, right? Yeah, okay, well, let's just work towards that. As long as we can have that dialogue, I think we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I can say that in the past, the communication with the city has been really difficult. That's probably why you didn't get half your emails, because there's been lots of changes within the city.
Yeah.
So is there somebody in particular that we need to be continuing to talk to, or is it just all of you guys?
Well, I think that as figureheads, definitely Scott, as the city administrator, again, he is running the business of the city, and myself as the, whatever I am, the current throat to choke. And my cell phone number is on the website. Jason has it as well. I could write it down on a piece of paper for you. Happy to do that. I do, and this is the thing that I want to, I'll say it a million times. Together we work better. So we need to continue that dialogue. We need to have open communication through any of the issues that we've been with Jason. I was on the phone with him immediately. I do believe in hitting these things head on. And there's a cost to my personal life, much to my wife's chagrin, but luckily she's very strong and supportive. But it's something that I feel is that important that we keep that going. So I would say use us as primary, and then any decisions that are made are going to go through council. So we'll make sure that they're informed of any kind of conversations or ideas or thoughts or preferences, whatever we can. We'll make sure that we have an openness with the community and with the council so that we can accomplish that together.
Okay.
That was a lot of words. I hope that you have two people to use as central throats, and please do communicate.
And I understand your frustration working with federal government and everything, but the way any state or federal government is if there's something that happens somewhere else, dealing with airport, flight, what have you, they tend to go overboard than underboard. And so that's where they blanket it. Even though it didn't happen here or in this state or in this area, they rather do overkill than underkill. So that makes all of the rules, they change all the rules, and it makes it frustrating for us as well because we're trying to support our citizens and these kids and everything. I mean, my son's on the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm right there, not my son, my nephew is on the Dodgers. But it's frustrating for us too. It's like, oh, wait a minute, last year it was this, just like you said, now it's this, but it's all because of something that happened somewhere else, and after the investigations, they turn around and say, hey, we're gonna do this now. No ifs, ands, or buts, even though we've never had that problem. So, understand your frustration.
Yeah, I mean, recently you guys helped us out with the whole trash thing. I don't know if you knew how much we were spending on garbage out there.
I heard about that.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I tried reaching out like over 6 months ago and never got any kind of, and I don't know exactly who I spoke with on the phone. I wrote her name down. But she's concerned about people dumping out there as far as construction debris. And like I told her, unfortunately, that's out of our hands. That property's open to everybody. Because she said that if it happens to end up in there, that we would have a higher charge again. So I get that, but it's city property. Like, we're a nonprofit organization, you know, trying to make it and bring it back every year for these kids, and we take care of everything out there. So.
It's a small issue, but it's a perfect example of how we can be better partners. Where we're just
Absolutely.
working together, communicating regularly. Hey, you know, driver just picked up your stuff. Just FYI, there was a bunch of mattresses and stuff in it.
Yeah,
Is there a way we
I
can put
mean-
locks on it? I mean, we want to support you. It was ridiculous what y'all were paying, and you got a credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you. Do we want to move on to reports?
Yeah, let's go on to the, and again, thank you for everybody that had discussed this. It's a tough thing to work through. Really appreciate it. All right, next item, let's move to the city administrator report. Do I need to go through all the items? Well, I don't.
No.
Okay.
They're
perfect.
listed on the agenda, but I will, I'm going to go through these quickly. If you have any questions, you do have, most of these items were covered in the report. There's only a couple items in here that might, it's just additional information from what you got. One of the big issues, again, for probably everybody present and for the people watching, was utility billing concerns. I think Mayor Pro Tem asked some good questions at the last meeting of what are we going to be hit with? What does our electric contract look like? What does our gas contract look like? I'm pleased to report that our contracts had fixed rates in them. So our electric provider is CPS. Now there is some confusion, if you will, because people are seeing the news and seeing where it says CPS said I didn't have to pay a bill or whatever. You get your electricity from the city of Castroville. not CPS. We buy electricity from them, and we are going to have to. They didn't give us a pass. We are paying them our bill. But the good news is we didn't. The ancillary service charge, which was the area that really caused some major concern. I just saw where the city of Denton, I believe, is suing ERCOT for $207 million or something because that was their bill, and their total budget for the year is like $274. So they spent almost their entire budget in 1 week. We aren't going to have that kind of an issue. Our contract with CPS shielded us from that because we had a fixed rate on ancillary services. I was hitting on what this part of it. On our gas side, our contract is with West Texas Gas. HSC stands for Houston Ship Channel. It's just like a clearinghouse. Think of it like a stock exchange where they sell gas. And we pay the first day of the month rate, whatever that rate happens to be, plus a fixed rate. So once again, we're kind of shielded from the whole issue that occurred in February because we're going to pay the first month, the rate on the first day of the month, and we have a fixed rate for the other component. That does not mean that people won't see a higher bill because the bill's based on your usage. We had some really cold days for people who still had gas. They probably used a lot of gas. I expect it's going to be somewhere in the 20% range for February. We'll see. But those bills are, I think, coming out pretty soon. On the other utility billing concerns, these are issues with just recent, and I know almost every one of you has reached out to me with one upset customer or another related to our utility billing process. Unfortunately, there are some things that are out of the city's control. One of them is when you go, and many people don't know this, and honestly I didn't know how it worked until I was talking to our customer service folks, but when you go to pay your bill through your bank, many banks use a third party to do that. So you go online, it debits from your account right away, or it debits on the date that it's due, or whatever, however it's set up. But it doesn't actually, there's an actual physical check that gets cut and sent to the city. Well, the group that does it, a lot of times, about at least 80% of the time, isn't the local bank. It is another institution that the bank relies on to cut all those checks. So they sit on, if you will, those checks. They cut them, they sit on them, and then they send them out in a mass mailing. Well, USPS has been having some issues lately, as you probably experienced in your own personal mail, whether you're getting deliveries, et cetera. And so what happens is we get a late payment. And so you, the customer, paid it on time, you went through your bank and paid it, but when it actually arrives here at City Hall, it could be 2 or 3 days past the due date. And by then, because we don't know, we've already updated the system, we're already sending out the demand letters saying, hey, you haven't paid your bill, and of course that leads to an upset customer who calls us and says, hey, I did pay my bill, what's wrong with you people? Well, it's not us. We're victims as much a part of that process as the customer in that case. Similarly, third-party billing, if I'm an attorney or a doctor or someone else, a lot of times I have someone else handle my bills. A lot of times those third-party, that they'll set up a different address, so all my bills go to that address. Well, that address may or may not be in state. We've had instances where we send all the bills out on the same time to the same group of people, but for whatever reason, someone gets a bill 10 days after it's due, or some period after it was actually due, and then 3 days behind it, they get our late notice. So for whatever reason, late notice got there promptly, but the bill didn't. And again, that's totally out of our control. So we're dealing with those issues. All I can tell you is if you have folks that contact you, please encourage them to talk to me. I'm handling most of those issues on an escalated basis. We're going to be caring and compassionate. We understand that this was not their fault. We will give them credits back when it's appropriate to do so. We do have some folks, unfortunately, who are just bad credit risks. I mean, they're late every month. They have financial challenges, whatever the issue is. And so that's a separate issue. But for the folks who legitimately tried to pay us and for whatever reason didn't get to us on time, we're certainly going to work with them and deal with that. We do have complaints on our meters from time to time. And this is just for your education and the education of anybody else listening. Meters rarely, and I mean really rarely, read to the benefit of the city. They almost always, like 99.9% of the time, if they're going to fail, they're going to fail in benefit of the customer. They're going to underread. They don't overread. So if you feel like you've got an issue and your meter's overreading, more than likely you have a leak. It's not the meter malfunctioning, because if it malfunctioned, it would actually read lower, not higher. So we do have a gas customer that actually I need to probably look into tomorrow. where he's just had some incredibly high reads, like 5 or 6 times what he used in January is what he used in February. And so that's I don't know what that is. If you're a water customer, I'd say he has a leak. If it's a gas customer, I'm really worried. Something might kaboom.
Somebody might have noticed that,
What's that?
Somebody might have noticed the
Yeah, you would
gas.
think you'd smell something, but I'm very concerned in that particular customers for their well-being. So just know that there are some solutions that we're looking into. I've talked to our Mayor Pro Tem about some of these. I think I've mentioned some of them to you all. I'm looking at a different software program that it would give customers real-time data. Now, later in this agenda, we're going to talk about, actually later in this report, about AMR, automated meter reading. That isn't just to reduce the errors and omissions that are made by the person reading the meters, but it also provides your customers with real-time information. A lot of times within minutes, certainly same day, they can get an alert that says, hey, your water, it looks like you left your water running, or there's a hose bib in the yard. It gets that level of detail where it can tell you there's a problem and you need to go look at it right now, or else you're going to have a really high water bill at the end of the month because you've got an apparent leak. So it's that level of detail that might be available through these types of enhancements. Also looking at a kiosk payment system where it would take cash, check, any credit card. It'd be a walk-up. It'd be like an ATM. It would dispense change if it needed to. I've used those in the other 2 cities that we've worked in, and I think they've been adopted and well liked by the citizens. Once they make one payment, if they give their cell phone information, it actually tells them when their next payment's due. It gives them the amount, gives them a copy of their bill on their cell phone or whatever their device they're using, and they're able to pay by credit card right then off of the kiosk. So pretty cool system. It's $35,000 and then $7,000 a year to maintain. So it's a lot less than an employee, if you want to look at it that way. But it does the work of usually a couple of employees when you set it up and set it out there. So that's something our utility system will be looking at. And then a customer service hotline, something that would give people the ability to respond. I know that we had some issues with people getting through during the snow vid. We were overwhelmed. This is in the newsletter that will go out. We talk about this. The phone lines were just simply overwhelmed by the number of calls, and that's what was happening. People call and they get a busy signal. The phone line worked. It worked the entire time. It was never offline, except that it got overwhelmed from time to time and people couldn't get through. And the solution there is the customer service group potentially adding more lines or more people, but we also recognize this was an extraordinary event. And you don't want to be a group that ramps up for that one day a year when you might have an issue because you're going to overpay.
Well, and if they're doing billing for utility systems, they're probably doing it for multiple in the state, and they're probably getting
it's a
the
warehouse.
same thing.
It's a customer service warehouse.
Right.
Look at it that way. So those are just different possible solutions we're looking at. Again, we don't. I hope you recognize by now, when we identify a problem, we try to identify a solution with it. I really appreciated Brian's comments earlier. I'm not just bringing you problems, I'm trying to bring you a solution.
Yep.
I love that kind of an attitude, and certainly we try to take the same one. I already talked about this. I've already talked about that. I've already talked about the lease. This is just about fund balances. Again, our Mayor Pro Tem is going to go into this a little bit more detail, but the takeaway here is every one of our fund balances, with the exception of the airport, which had some capital expenditures, every one of our fund balances improved significantly. This is as of October 1st of this year. So, and these are audited numbers. It's kind of convoluted because none of the numbers in here will match your budget document. If you were to take this out and look at your budget document, you won't find these numbers in there because they're audited. They're based on year end. We got them from the auditor, and they net out specific expenses that are already committed. So the idea or the purpose of this report was, when I first got here, y'all may recall, maybe one of my very first meetings, I can't remember which of you asked, but you wanted to know, what cash do we have on hand in each of our funds, and can you help us understand that? Well, that's what this does, hopefully. It tells you, here's how much cash on hand you have that is not committed. It's available to spend in each account. What's significant about this is the number of what it represents and the number of days on hand for operating costs. The recommended minimum is 90 days. Where I've worked, we've generally had policies that required 120. I've never required anything beyond 120. So I think 120 is reasonable, but 90 is the minimum. If you look at this, you have 398 in the general fund. It's a lot. It's over a year of cash sitting there. It doesn't mean that we need to knee-jerk and lower our tax rate, because what I think it means, and it's more indicative of, is that we haven't been investing these funds appropriately in our system, and that's obvious. You look at your streets. We've made no significant investment in streets, with the exception of our small capital, repair and patch program. We haven't been going out and doing major street reno projects at least since before 16. So it's been at least 5 years, but probably 2012. I mean, it's
been a while.
Probably almost 10 years. Our debt service rate's 3 cents, a little over 3 cents. That's extremely low. That's indicative of a city that hasn't issued debt. So all of this is going to be talked about in more detail in our capital planning process, which I'm going to get to right here. You'll recall that when you hired me and went through the interview process, we talked about the importance of the capital plan. I committed to get you something in 6 months. I am very aware that that time is ticking down. I've been trying to use that time prudently to talk to staff. Part of this process will be gathering data. I told you that'd take about 90 days. I've started that internally. We've reviewed our own capital list. I had meetings with Schneider and CPS and our different groups to look at infrastructure. But one of the things that will be on an upcoming meeting is this kind of data gathering. It's going to take the form of, and this is in your report, in the council report, and the supporting documents, there's a Schneider proposal on a cost of service study. That looks at, okay, how are costs being allocated? Again, as I explained earlier, if you were to look at the general fund, even though the general fund has a ton of cash, most of that is coming from a utility transfer. They do not pay. We would be in the red if we didn't have that transfer. At the end of the year, we would have gone a hole about 200 grand. And the same thing is true of the current budget. If we didn't have that transfer, we'd go in the red. So we need to make sure that each fund independently is balanced and that the costs are appropriately assigned. And it's possible there are things the general fund is paying for, probably shouldn't be paying for. Maybe they should be moved to our utility fund. But we need to look at that. So that's what the cost of service study will do for our electric. We need to do the same thing for water and sewer as part of this comprehensive plan. And then separate from that, I'm also bringing forward, so we'll go through a project identification process. We'll look at water and sewer, we'll look at streets, we'll look at electric, we'll look at facilities, we'll look at parks, we'll look at each of those areas. But one of these is also for a potential project in our sewer system, AMR, AMI, automated meter reading. That's something I think y'all had looked at before I got here, so I'm going to bring it forward. The process for that, as you already know, what we basically employ right now is we have a feet on the street approach. Our guys go out and literally read every meter. Our guys, not guys, our one person does that for the entire city. So the good news is we don't have that many meters, so it would be less expensive. The bad news is it's going to be fairly expensive to make this leap. But if you do it all at once, it's a lot less expensive to do it all at once than it is to try and do it in stages. Because you're going to get more bang for your buck. You're going to get everybody here. So that's what this company does, is they look at all that. They look at the different technologies that are out there. They put together a project. They tell you how that project's going to play out, and then they manage that project for you. This is the company I'm talking about is Amoresco. There are several companies that do this. They are available through a cooperative purchasing program where they kind of put that whole process for you, or together for you. I mentioned earlier, one of the benefits is a customer portal. It gives the customer real-time data. They can see how their consumption looks, whether it's water or gas or electric, and they can get alerts. It just makes the communication with the customer a whole lot, those difficult conversations, you can actually pinpoint, all right, well, here's the day. Do you remember what you were doing on these days? This was a Thursday through Saturday. Oh, yeah, that's right. I left the water running for my dog, and we left town, and I totally forgot, and I came back and turned it off, but I didn't realize it was that many. Yeah, it was 250,000 gallons while you were gone. Really? Yeah, it was a lot. But it makes those conversations a lot easier when you can have that level of detail to present to them. Next steps for this will be to We'll go through on the next agenda, we'll have two cooperative purchasing programs that we'll bring forward. One of them is going to be tips, and there'll be another one, but that's what will allow us to do business with Amoresco and have them bring them on board. What they offer is they do that full analysis, and it doesn't cost us anything. Now, always beware of a free steak dinner because it's going to cost you something. In this case, they really are looking to do a project. So if we were to decide not to do a project, there is a clawback, if you will, cost. But I think the intent is to do a project. So that's, as we go through that capital planning process, we're going to use their data, we'll fold it in, we'll explain how it gets paid for, why it benefits the community, make sure it's something that's not just a priority for staff, but it's a priority for you all, it's a priority for the community, and then we'll move forward on it.
Can I say one more thing about this? So
Yes.
one of the things that is really interesting about this is some of the proactive measures. I know that, like Patricia, before I was on council, I would get calls from her every once in a while when I had a contractor leave my water on and drained out 4 times my normal monthly consumption in a day. So it, thank you, Patricia. So it does things like that. It also, some of them will identify leaks that are not just in a customer's area, but actually in our main lines, help us identify where those things are. So it gives us that additional visibility as well as some analytics that we just don't have right now. So I think that this is, as long as it fits within our cost model, as long as we're not increasing rates to be able to support it, I think that this is going to be something that adds to that customer service and our ability to proactively support the people of Castroville. So,
yeah, well, thank you, because I think it's going to be a good program, but I'm anxious to see what the results of the study are.
Yeah.
I do want to mention this because you made me think of this while you were speaking. The last city council meeting, we had a person come forward and talk about their sewer rate being super high, and why is that? And I didn't fully understand that when he was talking, because in my experience, usually the sewer rate isn't higher than the water rate. You have your water and then sewer is usually some fraction of water. Maybe it's 85% of it. They're comparable, but it's usually not like hundreds of dollars more. Well, after talking to my staff more about that and better understanding our process, part of that has to do with the fact we built a new plant. And when we did a cost of service study on that, I guess in 2016, we came up with a rate, and the rate is what produces that. That's why we tell people, hey, we're going to look at these 4 months, and we're going to give you that average. We're going to throw out the highest month, and then we'll take the 3 lower ones, and then that will be what establishes your sewer bill. But the sewer rate is fairly high. So today, I was looking at a customer account. His sewer rate was $434.
Commercial?
No. But he has 4 acres of land. He has a bunch of cattle and goats and whatever that he gives water to, like 250,000 gallons a month. He uses a lot of water.
250,000.
A lot of water.
So what's its water rate though? It's about $200
But
something dollars.
yeah, so his water bill is maybe 211,
Yeah.
and his sewer bill is 434. And
He needs a separate meter.
yes, well, so to Patricia's credit, she said, "Look, sir, help me understand how you use your water." And he explained, and that's how I know he has 4 acres and all, because she asked those questions. He explained to her, this is what it is. Well, I'm thinking about updating it sometime, but I think I'm going to pull water from the river eventually, so I won't need a separate meter. And she's like, well, you're going to have this bill until you do that. It would make sense for you to do that. No, I think he's going to pay the bill. Well, that's fine. We can't. I'm not going to tell someone not to pay their bill. But just so you know, I really am proud of our staff. I think they do go the extra mile. They do call people and have these conversations when they see there's a major issue. However, they are constrained. They're constrained by what our policies state. So when a person calls and says, I didn't pay this, I don't owe this late fee, and you have to, their answer is going to be, until they talk to me or until I give them approval.
We're going to cut you the power off.
I'm sorry, but you must pay that late fee. If you don't pay that late fee, you'll be on the cutoff list. And they aren't trying to be jerks about it. That's our policy. That's what they are. If we paid an outside person to do this, they tell them the same thing. So I want you to understand what my policy is, kind of my approach. I'm going to be caring and compassionate. I'll look at those on a case-by-case basis. I'll try to be fair. We're not going to do what's good. I'm not going to, if Darren says, well, this is my buddy, I'm going to say, well, that's fine, but he can't be treated differently than anybody else. So if we do it for him, we're going to do it for all, and that's the approach that we're going to have. And so I know you called with a gentleman. Who's
To be
concerned.
clear, I did not do that.
Yes, you did not do that. In fact, it was Todd that did it. But he didn't say take care of my friend. He just said, hey, this guy's called me and he has an overcharge. And sure enough, it was one of those issues where he had sent the bill on time, but we didn't get it until it was late. And in that instance, we credited it because that was the right thing to do. So we're going to try to do the right thing. We know that common sense is not common, but we're going to try to use it as much as possible.
It wouldn't matter if it was my brother or anybody.
Right.
You treat people the same every time you talk to them. Consistency is what gets you home.
Yeah, we were all taught as kids, when you tell a lie, you lose track
by
of
the way,
it.
he was happy
Yeah.
with the end result.
Oh, good.
He did make that comment to me today, so.
Yeah, good.
That's.
It's good that we're getting that positive feedback too.
Sometimes even if they're in the wrong, just like Mr. Beck, sometimes just listening to them is all they want. They
Absolutely.
don't want an answer from you. They don't want you to make a decision right at this point. They just want somebody to hear them is all they want.
Yep.
Right or wrong. So
You're absolutely right.
it worked out really well.
That's what I'm here for. So if there's an issue, please send them to me. People, don't you want to have 15? No, I don't have a limit. They want to talk for an hour, I'll just sit and listen for an hour. I just have to have the time available to do it. So sometimes I do require they set up an appointment. But
I don't want to be the first line of defense.
Right. All right, so next issue is ICC. This is the ICC code development process. This is not something I'm planning on bringing back anytime soon, but it's called the International Building International Building Code. This is a body, an international body that regulates building codes. Again, literally all over the world, but is used very widely by folks here in Texas and in the United States. And there is a relationship between what level of code you have adopted versus what kind of preferential treatment you get on your insurance bill, for instance. If your city has adopted more recent codes, then as a city in a zip code, you'll get a more favorable treatment from an insurance rating policy or position. And that's explained in a little bit of detail. But what we're talking about, this isn't really a recommendation at this point, but we just wanted to kind of give you a glimpse of where we stand versus where the state stands. So right now, we've adopted the 2012 building code in every instance except for the electric. The only reason the electric is different is that the electric has really good lobbyists, if you want to look at it that way, and their code always gets updated. That's mandated by the state, I believe, is that we actually go with the most recent electric code. So that's why the states, you'll see in the same column, they've got the 2003 IBC, International Building Code, the 2012 International Plumbing Code, the 2020 Electric Code, because once again, they always get the most recent code update. So we're by and large in 2012, and staff is going to look for direction from you as to whether or not we should be looking at moving to, it's every 2 years, 3 years. If Brianna's listening, she's probably screaming at me right now because she knows the answer, but I can't remember. But every several years, they update these codes, and generally, depending on the city, some cities adopt them every year. But there are pros and cons to doing that. Obviously, these codes are being updated for a reason, so if you're updating with the most recent ones, ideally, you're in the safest category you can be from a building code perspective, or a plumbing code, or electrical code. But at the same time, there can be issues with, if you're a local builder, or you're just trying to do things on your own, you're going to be your own GC, having the latest code can be expensive. Because there's certain requirements that you may have to meet that really are kind of inappropriate for a historical town like Castroville, where we have a lot of historical properties, and implementing a newer code may be a bit of an issue. So again, all of this will be, I think I provided some of the background in your report, but I'll send this to you so you can review it and think about it. We'll probably bring it back for some discussion in June or sometime in that time frame. I think Brianna's going to bring this to the planning and zoning group as well, just for their input and for them to think about. I think I have, just 2 more issues. One is bulk water sales. If you weren't aware, I knew I wasn't, the city operates a coin-operated bulk water sales machine that no one in my public works department really understands or why it's there, or even like, well, how many coins does it take to get however many gallons?
There's some people west of town that used to have to haul water on a regular basis. I don't know if that's the case.
It still
anymore.
is. There's someone that lives in our CCN that this is their only source of water.
Well, the water is real deep out west, southwest of town.
Yeah. So maybe drilling a well is cost prohibitive.
Correct. Well,
But
for
they could-
them, possibly, yes.
I think they're a quarter mile from the end of our line. So they'd also have to put a quarter mile of line in, so that would be pretty expensive. But bottom line, for years, unbeknownst to us, they've been coming in and this was their sole source of water. The only reason we found out was during the snow vid, this broke. The machine broke. And to fix it, it's gonna be about $3,600. Now, we don't make $3,600. It takes 3 years to make $3,600 off this machine, and that's not profit. About half of that is profit, because our rate, we charge ourselves for this water. We charge ourselves at the commercial rate, so about 40 to 45% of those sales is profit, if you want to think about it that way, is revenue. The rest of it actually goes to, there's a bill there's a fund transfer that takes place where we bill ourselves for the water sold. So it would actually not take 3 years, it would take more like 6 years to pay for fixing it. So it's not something, again, I'm going to bring this back on the 23rd. I just wanted to make you aware of it. I'm going to try to get some more facts about it, but I'm going to look to y'all to help me understand whether or not we need to stay in this business, and whether we want to continue to do it the way we've been doing it. There are other ways to do it. I'll bring you other options, the way other cities do it. I know some places do it on you can set it with a card reader. You can have people register, provide their information, and then you charge them for you meter it through basically a fire plug, and you sell 1,000 gallons at a time, that kind of thing. I mean, there's different ways to do it. This coin-operated machine is a little bit of a
Antiquated?
well, it's just it is antiquated maybe, but it's just different. I mean, it's
Well, I think
an oddball way to do it.
It's probably outlived its usefulness as well. I think there used to be far more people who needed that service. And
Very possibly. You can see we're still selling a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
over 200,000 gallons
Yeah,
on a pretty regular basis.
that's quite a bit.
So there's still people that are getting water, but
I've
we
seen
might want to
people-
come up with a different method for them
I've
getting
seen
that
people there loading up a water buffalo many times. So.
water. Right. And that's the other thing is some of that water, anyway, so, to the degree that it needs to be potable, like a lot of those uses are not for potable. They don't need potable water. The people we just talked about do. They need potable water. They need
Right.
drinking water, water that
Yeah.
you can drink, that's safe to drink. But most of the people using it, I would venture, are using it for an industrial purpose, whether it's for oil field or for concrete or for whatever. They're not using it to drink or cook with.
How does Lacoste sell their water?
They have a registration system. They sell it at $8 per thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't, that's what I'm saying, I'm gonna bring all that back to you in a more detailed report in March or maybe May or April. one of those
Because we're
times.
selling it for the same cost they are.
Yeah, we're actually I did the math, about $8.15.
Yeah.
We're about 15 cents higher, I think.
So, but maybe they do it like we do with quarters, so yeah, if you could bring that back.
They don't do it with a quarter machine.
Yeah.
We're the only quarter machine I know of.
Really?
Our attorney is like, I
Don't
said
throw
it on the
that
last
thing
one,
away.
like, wait, what?
That's a lot of quarters.
Don't throw that thing away, it might be worth something.
$18,000, a lot of
Show
quarters.
up with
Well-
a roll of quarters every time you want water.
We have quarter electric machines out at the park too. So.
I knew we still, I didn't know if it was operating, but I knew there was a quarter machine for water.
Yeah. All right, last item, there are other items on the report. I don't want to gloss over those if you have any questions about what's in the report. I know one of them is financial advisor services and bond counsel, so that will be coming back next week, or in 2 weeks. But this is electrical improvements. I'm sorry, this is actually an agenda item, so we can come back to this. I just wanted, we have on the agenda for tonight to approve the improvements to, are you listening, Sheena? I know you're watching. For River Bluff area. So that's actually on the agenda. So I just wanted to reiterate what that's for and what the plan is going forward. But I'll do that on the agenda item. The Mayor Pro Tem does have a report as well. But before we move that, are there any questions about the items I presented? Or is there anything in the report that you want more clarity on?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I know I talk fast, I'm just trying to move through it.
You're a fast talker.
All right, what I need to do.
I will try to talk equally as fast. So,
Thank you, Scott.
yeah, thank you for putting that together. One of the things, so we're going to go just over high level on a lot of these things. I wanted to give some context to some of the stuff that Scott had talked about. So one of the things that he's been approaching is, I call it rethinking customer service. So across the board, I look at the services that we provide to the citizens of Castroville. They happen through people, they happen through systems, and I like the way that Scott's been approaching this. I think that this is something that we owe it to the city to do this. So the first part is community interface. So this is proactive communication. We talked about how Patricia has reached out in the past, and there have been some other instances of people just going the extra mile, reaching out in advance, trying to help people out. We want to encourage that and continue that, but also increase that. The other thing is, so kind words and helpful actions. I know for a fact that there's not a single person that works at the city that doesn't really care about what happens here. That was very evident during the winter storm, people going the extra mile, spending extra hours, just going out of the way to help people out as much as possible. We have countless instances of that. With the utility system, Patricia reaches out proactively whenever she can catch something and can find it. She'll be really good about that. Sometimes in reaction, typically with customer service, we're hearing the problems, we're hearing the issues. And one of the things that Scott has already begun addressing is just the way that you approach those. Although I know that there is not a lack of caring at all, sometimes there's a lack of patience. There is a big difference when you smile on the phone and you frown on the phone, just the way that you come across. So that's something that I know that he's going through different methods to be able to help out with that and make sure that we're providing good customer service to people. Ease of access, he already talked about electronic improvements through the kiosk, through different software systems. There's a number of different ways that we can increase just the availability of information, the communication of things. Data analytics is the other thing that I really like about some of these systems, is that we can start doing evaluation, so we can proactively think about things that are coming up and identify issues and find trends. Setting up things like automated reminders through the software systems that he had talked about, through some of the other stuff that we've got. I think about with your pet registration renewal, it would be great to get an automated reminder for that. For the backflow prevention, great to get an automated reminder about that. Just things that we can communicate better with people so that we're not forcing them into compliance, we're encouraging them and helping them get into compliance with the things that we need as a city. And easy to find information. So it's really, during the winter storm, it was abundantly clear that we can go through extreme measures of posting on social media, multiple different areas, through the city, through city council members, through different key community people that proactively reach out. But I think that we can improve that. We need to set up a better expectation when we have issues, when there are things going on, making sure that people know exactly where to go to get up-to-date information on that kind of stuff. And then system availability. So you might think that this is a stretch, but to me, system availability is a part of customer service. So our utility systems, when they fail, that's bad customer service. That is something that it is something that we are obligated to make sure continues to happen, is having those systems up, having them available. Through the notification system, I've had issues with iInfo. I know that there are other people that have had issues with setting up iInfo. I've set it up 3 times, and I get emails, but I don't get text. And there's been other people that have had similar problems. It's a little bit confusing, and so we just need to make it less confusing, more straightforward, and make sure that we're setting that up. And if iInfo, I think iInfo is a good system. And if iInfo just doesn't work for us, we need to look at doing another system so that we can do that proactive notification.
We partnered with the county on that, right?
I believe so. I was just looking through the when it was approved, and it wasn't that long
It was
ago.
a county initiative that we kind of glommed onto.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that the interface is a little bit clunky, and
I agree.
it could be just through better instructions on showing people how to do that. it could
I'm in the
be.
exact same boat. I signed up for it, but I never got a single notification during
Right.
snow.
I get all of them,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, I know a number of people that do it, and I get it on the emails. but not on the
I
text.
don't, yeah, I've signed up numerous times and zilch.
Yep,
Text messages is how they come to me.
that's the best way. That way you find out about it
I signed
immediately.
up with that Chief Jackson's PD.
Yep. Well, you get a lot of them. Hopefully not that
Get a lot
many.
of 'em. More than I want.
Yeah.
They let you go. That's the good. That's the good.
No
Yeah,
notifications. And then the other thing is through emergency preparation. We talked about this last time. We do need to do better about getting that set up, getting those communication paths set up, making sure that we do let people know this is what we are anticipating, but this is what we're preparing for, which should be even a greater level of risk than what we anticipate. So let's go on to the next thing. So this is just a graphic to really describe what Scott was talking about before. Thanks for zooming up on that. The key message here is that we are fiscally healthy. We have fund reserves. Our financial situation is extremely healthy. We have more than enough cash on hand. And honestly, we have to reduce
I'll
fund
try and
balances.
Make that chart as big as I can.
Thank you. So if you look at this, and I'll just read through it. The blue on the left is year 2009. This is our fund balances. 2019. And we had, in the airport, we had 207 days. 2020, we had 114, so that's been reduced, and recommended on that is 90 days. So we are above and beyond what needs to be in the airport fund. General fund has actually gone up. We talked about this during our budget cycle last year. Really healthy would be at 180 days. It's a very healthy balance to keep, and we've got 398. I thought it was crazy at 306. We're at 398. So that's even more crucial that we reduce that, but we do it carefully. And then utility fund increased slightly, but not dramatically, but we're still way over what it did. So the bottom line is, financially, we're very, very healthy. We're too healthy. We need to reinvest that back into our infrastructure. We will be proactively looking at that and bring that in front of council for the capital projects and for other initiatives that are going to serve the city better. So the next one. Okay, and I think that he already hit on this. I'm going to kind of rush through it. So this is the utility cost impact due to spiking supply cost. What you heard from San Antonio CPS is carrying over $1 billion in what would be passed along in what, there's a line item on a CPS retail customer's bill. It says fuel adjustment charges, and that's where that additional increase would be. That's what Scott was looking into to make sure that we did not have that on ours.
Surcharge?
It's a fuel adjustment surcharge, right? So it basically says if it costs them more to source energy, then they pass that portion of it along. You get your base rate, which is your capacity rate, then you get your usage rate, and then it was a fuel adjustment charge above that. Ours is a fixed contract. We are very well insulated against that. So the only increase in power that citizens should expect is if you were in the half of the city that had power all that time and you had an electric heater, just be prepared it's going to go up.
Now, I'll state that on our bills, for our customers, we have a fuel surcharge. It is a calculated rate. It is a fixed calculated rate. So once again, it's all proportional to how much you use. If you used more, that fuel surcharge will go up, but it's related to how much you used. Because again, it's a fixed rate that we charge.
Right. Water impact. So we will have to make some decisions on supporting people who have higher usage due to storm-related leaks. I think that we already have a policy in place to deal with this. I think that we should do a double click on that, not just for the water, but for if there is, so the winter storm was outside of the sewer measurement period.
Right.
Right. So it's outside of that. So we will have to go over that. And then gas. Oh, sorry, gas was on the left. So one of my concerns, can you just scroll over just a little bit to the left? Thank you. So where CPS got hit with this was an increased cost of natural gas. So I was really concerned, since we're sourcing natural gas and that's the primary heat in Castroville, I was concerned that we were getting hit with those same increase in demand charges specifically from the natural gas, because that's where the energy companies got hit. But although we expect higher usage in areas that had heat, that had the availability of that, our contract, like you said, it's set at the first day of the month, and so we are not at risk there. I wanted to look at where we are at risk to any of our utility customers getting hit with huge bills unexpectedly, so just being proactive in that.
Now we do, it's a good opportunity to say, people who have leaks, they're going to get large bills this month. We already know that. We're anticipating people calling panicked. It's more than likely because they have frozen pipes, they had other issues. The city already has policies in place to address people who've had leaks, and we will be probably educating a lot of people about that process, because many of these people probably never had that issue before. So we'll explain to them how that policy plays out. Generally, the first and biggest issue is proving that their leak is fixed. Once they've done that for the city by providing an invoice that shows that that leak was fixed, then we can do our part, which is to work with them on their bill. And there's a number of different things that we do to try and help people reduce the amount that they owe for
Well,
their
you
water.
can also go back and look at their history too,
Right.
whether it's the legitimate.
That's actually part, so you all, I'll bring the policy to you. In fact, I'll just email it to you so you have it. But that's part of what the city council set was our approach. Our approach is you actually look at what their average bill is. That establishes what the rate should have been. You look at how much they owe beyond that, and then we work out a payment arrangement for the excess amount. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll send that to you, so you know what the policy says, so that if you want to make any changes, we can do that as well.
I want to know the water meter. I really do.
Yep.
All right.
All right, let's move on to the next one. The COVID-19 updates. So with, the county is no longer tracking it by city. It became too much of an administrative overhead for them. So we don't get specific numbers. So what I've got on here, the map that's on here, those are all the locations that have the what do you call them?
Vaccines?
The vaccines, thank you. All the red ones are the ones that don't have any right now. Medina County actually just got some.
I don't know what you're saying.
What did you do? Oh, you hit
There
the
you
other
go,
way.
Scott.
Yeah.
I was trying to do this, so you
There you
can see.
go.
That's the one.
There's one. There you go.
So the county is sending out, when we do get vaccines, they're sending out notifications. We need to figure out how to get that out to the people of Castroville a little bit better. And I don't know exactly what that is, so I'll talk to you about that, making sure, because if you look at the availability, it's tight. So on the left, over in the yellow, so these are the different phases of making the vaccines available. The limited supply, that's what they've been going through so far. That's direct care, hospital long-term, all of those things. And I'll let you read through all of that. So we have gone through all of that already. Down at the bottom, they just opened it up for school and child care personnel to be eligible to be vaccinated. So those who work in pre-primary, primary, and secondary schools, Head Start and early Head Start programs, including teachers, staff, and bus drivers, and those who work as or for licensed child care providers, including the center-based and family care providers. So that is the next wave that the vaccine is open up to. So we'll continue to provide updates on that as we have them.
I was also advised that if you volunteer in one of the service centers, and you do 4 4-hour shifts, you go to the front of the line. So if somebody's eagerly, urgently needing to get vaccines, spend a couple hours volunteering in one of the service centers, and you'll get vaccinated.
Nice.
So, yeah.
If for no other reason, then when they thaw them out, they have an hour to distribute them, and people don't show up, and then they've got to get. So that's a lot of times that's how those volunteers end up getting
My
vaccinated.
wife drove to Lee Valley because of that the other day.
Yeah.
Got her shot.
And this is something else. So the winter storm responses and support, we had talked a little bit about this before with the water leaks. So the TDM, FEMA financial resources. If you look there, so the top right, the FEMA 4586-DR, that is the disaster declaration. You can register. So they sent out a map and they identified only certain counties, and we showed the map I think last time. of the counties that were approved for that. Medina County is now on that, so it's not just the, what was it? It was the individual response and the, what was the other one?
Honestly, I don't know what you're referring to. but-
Basically, so if you're not included in those affected counties, those emergency response counties, then you can only get it through the city or through the county. But because we were included in there a few weeks ago, people can go to that disasterassistance.gov or call the numbers that are on here. They go and they register. They can submit their claims directly through there and get that done directly through TDM.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So it's just a delineation between whether you're FEMA eligible or you just have to go through local, whatever resources are locally, which generally there aren't.
There aren't, right.
County doesn't have a fund to help people. So.
Neither the city nor the county has a fund to help people. Right. All right.
All right, that's it.
That's it.
Thank you. Appreciate your patience, y'all.
All right.
It's almost daylight savings time.
Okay. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
coming up.
This
All right.
weekend.
Next item, sorry, I'm holding this up. Consider and take appropriate action on authorizing the city administrator to enter into a temporary utility easement agreement with Dickerson Tosh Properties LLC to provide a temporary access and construction easement, TCE or easement, between the future awarded named contractor within the Alsatian Oaks project limits and named property owners for sewer and water line extensions. Do
I make a motion to approve as read.
do I have a second?
Yes.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Next item.
Just so you know, I don't believe we're going to bring temporary easements to you in the future. We're trying to figure out whether we have the authority to enter into them without your permission, but I think we do. So only the permanent ones. This next one's a permanent one, I believe.
Perfect. Consider and take appropriate action on authorizing the city administrator to enter into a public utility easement agreement with Dickerson Tosh Properties LLC, a Texas limited partnership. Questions?
I thought we did some of this last meeting.
You did.
These are additional.
Okay.
We're going to be doing a lot of this. This won't be the...
I don't have any questions. So I move as read. I make a motion to approve as read.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Consider and take appropriate action on authorizing the city administrator to enter into a public utility easement agreement with Highway 90 Castroville Partners Limited.
I make a motion to approve as read.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Consider and take appropriate action on adopting a resolution for submission of the FY21 State Homeland Security Program, the SHSP grant application, and designating the city administrator to execute an agreement for and on behalf of the city.
This is for the airport. It's a 100% grant. There is no matching. So if we are successful, they'll give us some money and we'll put up some high fence and do some other safety improvements at the airport. Lighting and some other things.
Our cost is ballpoint penny.
What's that?
I'm sorry.
I make-
On top of Carp Diem putting up some fence too?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a totally separate issue.
Separate deal.
I make a motion to approve, I make a motion to approve as read.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Consider and take appropriate action on adopting a resolution approving a grant application for the body-worn camera project for the purchase of WatchGuard body armor, or body camera for the police officers.
Once again, this has no match. I did raise some other questions with Brian earlier about kind of what all this entails. So we may have some more discussion for you, either the 23rd or at some subsequent meeting, just because body-worn cameras present some legal challenges for us. You have to be able to redact information when there's an open records request for that. I want to make sure that whoever we go with has the ability to do that. But then also just our policies. Now, he's, I think, been out looking at what best practices are. He's looking at the Texas Police Chiefs Association and what their best practices are, so I have no fear that we wouldn't follow those. I just want to get maybe some more questions answered about what this would entail and exactly what service this particular group, this watch guard provides. So we'll get all that to you when and if we are successful in the grant and we actually end up going with them to purchase their.
Yeah. Just make sure that the administrative cost of implementing the system isn't going to be
Right.
something outside of the budget, right?
Yep.
All right.
I make a motion to approve as read.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
When it comes to River Bluff, you're going to have to slow down. 'Cause we
Yeah, I
don't-
know.
Yep.
I don't know about slowing down.
He wants to get home. Consider and take appropriate action on adopting an ordinance amending the FY 2021 fiscal budget in the amount of $636,400, $636,463.84 for the electrical improvements, Phase 1 in the River Bluff subdivision.
They'll
I
take
do
care of
have
some
one
of the
slide,
excess
just, or
funds
two
you've got.
slides.
They'll take care of some of those
What's that?
excess funds.
I just
Got a
want
couple
to,
slides.
they're the same ones you've seen before. You don't have to look at them. Maybe it'll tell us that you can't look at them anyway, but, because I did plug it back in, but it's just not, whatever.
Quit.
It'll be there in a second. Just to reiterate, these are going to go in the front yards, so this is just kind of a typical layout. So removing stuff from the backyard to the front yard, and then that's kind of how it would function. Each pad site would service the two homes on either side of it, and then this is what they would look like.
So they're gonna be trenching or augering?
I don't know.
Okay.
I got a
I think it
question.
depends on the circumstances. And
A lot of times they can just set up and run the auger from
right,
station to station.
I would think that's probably what they're going to do. The cheapest method that they
Yeah.
can. They'd probably be
As long as it's done right.
right.
Yeah, as long as it's done
But
right.
this is where we're trying to get bonding money to pay for this, or is this coming out of the budget?
So what y'all are authorizing tonight is expenditure of fund balance. We just looked
Right.
at all those cash balances. We were about to spend 636,000 of it.
Right.
And as I stated before, you already passed a reimbursement resolution. That happened at the last meeting.
Okay.
But that doesn't obligate you to issue bonds.
Right. But
So
we
when we
can.
go through the capital planning process, if you choose to issue bonds for this purpose, then we can reimburse ourselves the 636 that we're spending tonight.
Okay.
If you don't, then the money is going to get spent, and that fund balance is going to do this.
Understand.
Yep.
And so what we had discussed during the budget workshop, and I think where the big confusion came in, is that we were all under the understanding that this was included in that budget, which we found out that it was not. So I think that this just level sets us.
Corrects that
Yep.
oversight.
Thought of the comment.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Does that include removing the old stuff?
Yes, the 636 does. This is only one phase, though. You've got four
Right.
phases.
Right.
I think, I don't think
Yeah,
I've.
it's only,
But you have the first presentation, it's in your, actually, it's in your supporting
Yep, it's in the
documents.
binder.
It's in the binder.
Yeah.
So this is phase one of, I think, 4.
Okay, so, looking at the color code stuff, because I'll have to answer questions on this. Looking at the color code, phase 1 is all the green,
Yep.
if I'm reading this right?
Correct.
On the picture thing?
Yes, wait, this is the green section that we'll be doing.
Okay, so phase
Yeah.
1 is the green, so it's at the top of the hill coming into the neighborhood.
Right.
So Arnie, it's your neck of the woods first. Now, for those of us down River Trail that is on the transformer, that when you come into the neighborhood coming down the hill, how are we gonna be impacted? Are we gonna have loss of service, or are we gonna have something set up? Because the transformer, my
You mean
house-
during construction?
Yes,
I would anticipate the way that this will happen is all of that will get put in, and then there will be a time when power will be cut, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. You might actually know the answer to this because your husband did this for so long, but I don't know if they actually are able to hook another feed up and then make that go live,
Jen, when
or
are they
if
putting
they have to cut the power, hook it up, and turn the power on.
So actually-
But bottom line is I would anticipate that when they're installing all this, it's going to be installed and then hooked up and made live.
okay, because the
But we
reason
will-
I'm asking is the transformer that for the side of the street my house is on, we're at the transformer, when you come in down the
Right.
hill, we're all hooked up to that one transformer. So if that's phase 1, I just want to make sure that, yeah, we understand we may lose it for a day or something like that,
Shouldn't be that long.
But we don't want to get hindered since we're not part of phase one.
Sure.
That transformer is still going to be active to take care of the rest of us that aren't in phase one.
So that's a great question for the contractor when we hire them.
Right.
And it's also a great thing to put into their contract, that
Right.
when they do this, and I've done this in the past,
Right.
when they're doing major work like this, that part of their responsibility as performance responsibility is informing the household owners of power outages and that kind of thing.
Right.
So
Well-
it's going to be incumbent on them to communicate as a contractor, here's what we're doing for your house this day, here's when the power's going to be out, if it's going to be out. That kind
And
of
I think that notification needs to go out a week in advance. We just need to make sure that we got that into the
We'll
contract.
talk about all that during the con.
And I'm just looking at it because I'm in
The last phase?
I'm in phase now. I'm in the blue color.
So actually, Sheena,
but-
let me interrupt just for a
Okay.
second for clarification on which the phase is. If you look at the light blue dotted line that's on the paper in your, right.
Right.
So if you look at those colored dots, those are actually phases. So we have 3 phase coming in, a
Right.
single phase going to each one of the homes.
Right.
So that C phase service, so that is one of the branches of the electrical that's coming in. That's going to affect all of those green dots.
Right.
And so if you're on the blue dots, right?
I'm in the blue dots, yes.
So
But the
phase-
transformer I'm still connected to
Mhm.
is all the way up here.
Right, but that
Show us
services
on
all
the map,
three.
Sheena.
So everybody on my side of the street, the farthest over, our transformers up here we're connected to,
Yeah, that transformer.
right here. So, when they do phase one, that transformer needs to stay live to take care of those of us that are.
Yeah,
aren't
I
in
really
phase
don't
one.
think it's going to be an issue.
But I'm just wanting
Yeah.
to make sure we have that coverage, because it's not only for our phase, but everybody else.
Right.
When we
So-
do these phases, is those old transformers are gonna have to stay active until everybody that's connected to those numerous different transformers is covered.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure they're not-
understood. So, just to be clear with y'all, the process. So tonight, you're approving the funds.
Right,
Next issue is to go through the bid process, and then we'll actually design, then bid, then contractor, which is
Then ask those
probably
questions.
4 to 6 months out.
Right.
And then when they get here, we need it, but I mean, it's good to bring them up.
And the
And I would
engineer
suggest,
really-
Darren, that like setting things like, well, we're gonna notice a week in advance. I would wait until we have a conversation with the contractor, because frankly, I don't know what limitations they have on their process. But I think it's simply, it's good enough for now to say, we're gonna put that on them. They need to be communicating with these homeowners at a level that they're telling them, hey, with some kind of notice, power's gonna be out for this duration, that sort of thing.
We just
Yeah,
need to
but-
define that in the contract.
But there's gonna be a lot of communication, because they're gonna be getting in these people's backyards and in the
Yeah.
front yards, and
Well-
there's gonna be a lot of,
And a lot of people don't
Issues.
realize these transformers, they think, oh, it just takes care of this area. No, when they did the neighborhood, you got transformers over here that connect homes on the far other side of the neighborhood. So I just want to make sure, yes, we got to get this done, but we got to make sure the contractor understands we can't shut off old until everybody connected to that old is taken
Sure,
care of.
there'd be a
I'm tempted to give you a hard time right now, but
I
I'm
mean,
not.
that's designing.
No, we're just flipping the switch.
If I can make a motion, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, yes, sir, yes, sir, sorry.
Do you want to let Sheena make that?
I did tell him to
Tina, you want to make that motion?
Go for it, Sheena.
I'm going to approve it as written.
Do I have a second? We got a
3
second?
seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who seconded that for real?
All
Paul.
three of them?
Paul.
Okay.
All
Take
three
your
of them.
pick.
We don't want to get blamed.
They all blended, I can't tell. It's like a chorus.
All right. Next item, consider and take appropriate action on Medina Valley Independent School District Swim Team Facility Use Agreement.
This is something we've done for years, but we haven't always had a formal agreement like this. Again, this is just the benefit of having a professional parks person in Devon. He's really been proactive about every aspect that I put on him, whether it's facilities or parks or streets, and making sure that we're dotting i's and crossing the t's and having a formal process in place. And so this is part of that. He's been communicating with the school district and their attorneys, so I'm expecting that it's, anyway, it's really for y'all's approval and then everything go forward.
Great.
I'll make the motion.
Please.
I second. Oh, go on.
Well, he's got to
I
make
already made the
a
motion. No, go.
You got to do the actual motion.
He seconded it before you got the motion.
Oh, he seconded it already? I make a motion, we approve it as, how did you say that?
As stated.
As stated?
As presented.
There you go.
Second.
All in
I got
favor?
one question
Oh.
before we vote.
Discussion?
Did we ever move forward with a heated pool?
No.
That never came back in.
Okay.
Red.
It's gonna be too much money. I think people offered to pay for it, and they found out what it was, and no.
Okay.
No, actually, what happened with that is that the group that was going to come in and get it sponsored, they ended up shutting down because of COVID, which, thank goodness, because there would have been a lot of people on the hook to do that.
Wow.
The approval is still in place if they come back and can meet the requirements, no?
No, it's out of date now. They
Is it
would
out
have
of
to come
date?
back and,
Okay,
you already know about it, but it would have to be a new one.
perfect.
I
Okay,
think that's the last time.
so I got anything else? Got a motion and a second?
Oh, July 4th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next item, consider and take appropriate action on identifying the scope of the 2021 4th of July events, including dates, activities, additional funding, planning committee, and safety procedures.
Sorry.
He's already gone to sleep.
Documents, we look at, we do have a map. I don't have the updated one, but y'all have it in front of you?
This one here.
Oh, wait, no, here it is. Never mind. It is. I didn't think it was in the packet.
That's the
It is.
same map, isn't it?
You're
Say
right.
now,
You said you did.
She
I
just
didn't
said
look
it.
at
Somebody
I'm
can
wrong.
come
You're
out
right.
there and have to read.
Okay.
It's been a long day. I'm going to bring it up here in 1 second, but one of our fears and one of our concerns from staffing was, Devin's. Is he still here? He was here earlier.
He was.
He's a great guy, but he panics very easily. And there's a lot of, as you can probably appreciate, there's a lot of organization that goes into planning outdoor events, and especially big ones like 4th of July. And some of those things have to be set up months and months in advance, and that clock is ticking. And so we wanted to come to you for direction that, yes, we are going to have Easter. We don't really put anything on for Easter, but we do open it up. It's already actually been open. The registration part has. But again, we're confirming. I kind of had some offline discussion with Mayor Pro Tem because some of those things had to happen now if they were going to happen at all. So we opened up registration, but seeing what the governor's done and the action y'all took tonight, I think that communicates some of this. There was some additional input that we were looking for as far as the 4th of July is concerned. Exactly what is it that you're looking for us to do? This is the map. I don't know if y'all can see that.
So that's
Oh,
basically
yeah, and you have a hard copy in front of
in
you.
the soccer fields in front of the, that's the pavilion up at the kind of 10 o'clock position?
Yes.
The amphitheater.
Amphitheater's
Is
Amphitheater,
is at 9 o'clock.
Is it at night? Oh, yeah, you're right, those are the restrooms.
Those are the restrooms.
Long day.
The
Equally
volleyball
as
courts are
important.
up there.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah, the amphitheater's at 9 o'clock.
yep.
And this is
There you go.
where the
I hate being wrong.
festivity's gonna go?
That's where the fireworks you're talking about?
Well, to me, the fireworks in the past have been up on the hill, but you wouldn't be setting up the fireworks.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know what this map shows, and I apologize. But one of the things I think we're looking, when the guy comes to set them off, there's a couple of things. One, a big issue is we allocated $5,000 in the budget because there was a misunderstanding, because it cost us $10,180 to put these off. That's the minimum you can spend with this particular outfit. It's generally the minimum across the state to get a group to come out and do a presentation. It's $10,000. Well, we spent $5,000 last year as a deposit. And normally you just lose your deposit. The guy said, no, I'll give you a credit and we'll do a bigger show. But you still have to pay $10,000. So we didn't, I think there was a miscommunication during the budget process because we only budgeted $5,000. So part of the issue is we need additional funds. We're going to have a bigger show. It's going to last a little bit longer than it normally does. Maybe there's going to be a little bit more bigger pyrotechnics, that kind of thing. Where he puts it on will really be based on a lot of different factors. We'll plan on a couple of different areas depending on which way the wind happens to be blowing the day that we set it off. Usually they like to look at those types of things. We are looking at sponsorships. I did authorize Devin to go out and start having those conversations, and he has. I don't know if we'll be successful, but I just wanted you to be aware that if we're going to move forward with fireworks and we are unsuccessful in getting sponsorships, then we're going to be on the hook for an additional $5,000 out of the budget.
You working on that, Arnie? No?
Devin had asked me a couple of questions about it, but last year, last year was on the ground between the amphitheater and headed toward the far end of the curve, and it was all low-flying stuff, and yes, it was shorter than anticipated, where the,
That's because
whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8 years before, we had it up on the hill above where the now extended sewer treatment plant.
Okay, well,
And because of this, that area was.
excuse me one second, Arnie, can we record, Councilman King had to leave at 7:30?
Not excited.
Yeah, he had a previous engagement.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Phil.
Bye, Phil.
We didn't expect it to go this late.
We didn't play trumpets again.
It was moved, and then there was an issue
with Mr.
with the
Penz's.
adjoining landowner on this side of the display, because all the wind blew the debris over their property. So we decided
I remember that very vividly.
to cut back everything to just low-flying things.
So we'll talk about, I'm going to look into some of that with Devin and help him plan it, but we want to put on the biggest display we can, you know, and really make a bang-up, you know, show of it, but do it responsibly, so as far as the neighbors are concerned, that sort of thing. I think part of the feedback was what were your, Devin was, again, it's a bad question for me to be asked, because I have zero idea.
Right.
But what are y'all looking for? What kind of, I mean, how big of a deal do you want? Not just the fireworks, but I mean, do you want food trucks and, you know, carnival and a, you know, I mean, there's been, I guess, different things in the past discussed, and
You know, I think that we put together a quick committee, do it through the Parks Board. If I can volunteer Arnie to help out with that, because he plans this stuff out really well. Not trying to obligate you.
Well, in the past, we've had a committee put together.
Yeah.
It was Arnie, I think the school, the chamber, there were several people involved.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Get CADC involved, get the chamber involved, the school.
But that was probably, you started 6 months in advance?
yeah, we're behind the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily, we've got 3 months to get this put together.
Don't we have to
I think we put,
do a budget adjustment to say go, or?
Well, we already got 5,000 minutes this year.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that-
I think we'll adjust the budget when we get the bill and we figure out how we're splitting up that bill.
and in the meantime, we'll work on getting sponsors.
Sponsorships could really soak up that 5,000.
Yeah, I think
if done properly starting now, you would find there's money out there, because when we were doing this in the past, through economic development, we were bringing in $15,000, $18,000 in sponsors.
Right.
And then, because of a variety of things, we were like, it's not gonna help future, but I think the change of atmosphere and everything, but I can't guarantee that.
Well, call Medina Valley Surveys, will make a donation.
All right.
We're showing
So
this.
Arnie just said we can get $18,000, so we'll be looking at even bigger stuff.
Nice.
Well, in showing it on this, on the terms,
Mm-hmm.
it's saying 50% balance due at the signing, which we already have a $5,000
right.
deposit, and we have 5,000 in the budget, so that would probably cover part
That'll
of
cover
it,
the
in case we have
50%.
to have anything extra later.
That's correct. The
So-
credit doesn't get us anything, but we have 5,000 budget, that's the deposit.
Right.
And if we need more, when the second part's due, if we
Yeah.
don't get sponsorships, we'll come to you and let
The
you know.
remainder's due 5 days before the fireworks display, so we have plenty of time to probably see if we need any.
Historically, in the past, for the fireworks vendor to order the fireworks from either East Texas or Oklahoma, wherever Tennessee, where they came from, they had to turn in their order usually by the end of February for July 4th.
Oh, my.
They couldn't get them.
Wow.
Thing about that.
Does anybody know if Michael Rios is local?
He's out of San Antonio.
Is he?
And he did it.
There was
here-
some Rioses that live in Castroville, and I think Michael was a classmate, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just curious.
There's a lot of Rioses that live in Texas.
Are there really?
Yeah, just a few.
Yeah. So do we need to,
There's also Gomez's and
But it says we need to take action.
Possible action. So do we want to instruct Devin to form a committee, or just give him a go?
I think we have to say
It sounds
that,
like you deferred. I asked you for some specific advice. You said, no, thank you, we're going to put a committee together, so that's good enough. I mean,
Well, I think that
but
we can't
do need
make
a
that-
motion that we're going to have fireworks and that you're willing to incur the expense if we're
If we
able to find
can.
the funds.
yes. So basically,
Subsidized.
we're underwriting the extra $5,000 that's not in the budget, so that we're guaranteeing it, and then we'll work on getting donations to cover that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that we would have to, I,
That's the motion, I believe.
That's the motion, okay, would you like to make that motion?
I don't know if I can repeat that.
Just say what he said.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion that we do have a 4th of July event with, I guess it's called pyrotechnics for 2021. And what else do I need to say?
We'll underwrite the extra $5,000 in anticipation of getting, so basically we'll cover the $5,000 if we can't get the donations to
And the
cover it.
city will cover the balance of $5,000 if we can't get donations.
Second.
Does that sound okay?
Does that cover it? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? All right, motion passes. Nicely done, thank you. I'm looking forward to this. All right, next item. Consider and take appropriate action on approving a contract with Liberty Fireworks for the 2021 firework display.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, and then we have executive session. Let's see. So the city council will meet in closed session under provisions of the Texas Government Code, section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property to deliberate the real value, the value of real property, and that is Medina Valley Youth Baseball Lease Agreement, and section 551.085 entitled deliberation regarding economic development negotiations for Project Square Deal. We're going to go into executive session at 7:37.
And the live stream is still on if anybody stays. Just to let you know.
I think we're going to go in the other room if you want to stick around. Thank you very much. We're almost done. We're going to go in the other room for executive session. You can hang out here if you want, or you can take off. We're almost done with it.
Yeah, it is at this point, but what they've done is they put basically every piece of property pretty much owned by the National Council up for collateral. The biggest nightmare for all of us, is one of those is the 149,000 acres of Mount Scott in northern New Mexico. Now, the other day for collateral, but if they require more money than what your insurance policies are, so you don't have to start selling. I mean, they got other stuff to put up too. But that was kind of big last hopefully. And they're hoping that initially with some of the comments about, well, you know, there were like 92,500 collected spots. 92,500, but this goes back to 50, 60 years ago. Anything $10 million per case, but the maximum through reinsurance is only like $100 million. And if they would have all paid out like some other, not scout, but sexual predator things and all this other places, it would have been like 10 or 15 billion dollars, but 90,000 for these two fall. So, there's.
So how many properties do you have this money? How many of them stay?
The rest of them are owned by the council. There's not any real national ones. There was a building in Irving that was the National Boy Scout headquarters. And those probably don't live, but they moved those about a year ago to Philmont. And one thing, I don't know if you were ever in the office up there, but all the Norman Rockwell original paintings are part of the collateral. And they're actually talking about selling those individually at auction to see how many million they would raise from those. So it's, nothing is nailed down yet. I mean, it's still all talking.
So once all the foreclosures come up, and so see insurance
And the two DVDs and acreage, the Bechtel Corporation, 5, 6, 7 years ago, gave, it's like 37,000 acres in West Virginia. That was some old mining things, but, part of the Appalachian Trail and all this other kind of stuff. And they reclaimed that. Yeah, they reclaimed it. They spent a whole bunch of money making it the one spot now for all the national jamborees. And but you go there for other things as well. But that's the national center for that. And in Philmont is still more like the special camping and special outdoor experiences in High Mountains and wherever else. And they own some property in the Virgin Islands for sea base, and they own some property in what's called the Northern Tier, but it's on the international boundary water near the national, there's a Southern Canada area up there, but it's minimal, I mean, they use that kind of stuff.
But it's just access.
Yeah, and like here, Bear Creek, that's owned by the council. But there's things, when some of these around the country were given to Boy Scouts, that was, there was ceases being Boy Scout use, would revert back to the property owner, not be used like this for collateral or cash or whatever. And up there, those things between, there may be some in the United States that, that if it closed down, whatever, it would revert to the national council, kind of like when the 501c3 holds up. It goes back to something else, or it goes back to IRS. And there's been quite a few girls in the Alamo Council. As soon as that became available, the Real Medina group created a Girl Scout pack for girls, for little kids. The packs have to stay separate from all the girls. And when they get to the Boy Scout age, they can co-mingle, but when there's camping and all that kind of stuff, it's not like national stuff. Now we're all going to be gender gender, sex and whatever. They go camping, they still got to be like half a mile or a mile or whatever. They go where the boys are and all that kind of stuff. And then the venture crew and Explorer Scouting, which is still got the whole clear. The older ones, they still got it separated, but they can do activities together, like, girls and boys ride the same route, they're having to do this and that. But it's made a major setback. Also, a year ago now, January 20, the Mormon Church pulled out of Boy Scouts totally. And that was about 11, 12% of all the adults group and a girls group, and we'll just run our own thing. Now, the jamborees, like I went to one in 1957, there were 55,000 people there.
Well, I'm not saying about
Yeah,
national champion, I'm saying
Right.
local campground.
Yeah, those are all held that they do in Bear Creek. Take them up there. Now, Bear Creek, with the flood, it basically closed down indefinitely, and they're having more decisions to come up. And I don't know if you ever been up there, but like, the water well may be down here in the dining hall is 800 feet higher, with a tall PVC line, laid either on the ground or very little under, so everything up there is on froze. And so they're having to deal with it. So I don't know if it'll even be, I mean, you go camping and you go bring your own water and that kind of stuff. But as far as that was over by Bastrop. Well, yeah, I can't explain. More Hayes to Caldwell or wherever it was. Bastrop County. Yeah. It was owned partly by the Austin Council and partly by the San Houston Council and partly by the Houston Council. And so they sold all that to developers that turned into housing, and then what they did with the funds out of that, the Austin Council was going to do more to improve the camp that's at Lake Bastrop that they do own. And the Houston group was going to create a whole new one over around there, close to Huntsville, where they would get some access for some property from one of the oil companies or something to do that, which I think they got out of that all good. And then the one down by Corpus, the Gulf Coast Council, their camp has always been on, when I was a kid, Camp Carondelet, out of Lake Maxwell, Lake Corpus Christi, and that's still there. And it's improved over the years, but it's not fancy. You're almost more like, very back in, they got some shelters, they got a small dining hall and that kind of thing, pretty much everything. And then there's one called Dixon Green, I believe, to that name, that is about 8 air miles probably northwest of Shiner, that's owned by Austin. And we went over there last year with our kids, and it's not remote in the sense of, 50 miles from nowhere. It's basically no improvement. They got one shelter that is nice, but everything else is just, you're camping right from the ski tree across the cactus, and it rained while we were there, and it was like around here, every time you walk in, it was this much more. We got the van that we went in because we didn't have access to the little trailer. And I was the one driving it, and I got stuck on a flat road, and I get through here, and
Just slick.
yeah. And then take it to the car wash when we get out here, so we can let it fly. But yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with, somebody that I sent that to, asked me. You personally, you're a Boy Scout, you've been there forever, you all this other stuff. If it came down to Boy Scouts or something else that they were thinking about doing, which one should I go to? And I said, well, obviously that's your choice, but I said it's going to depend on you and your kids and your family where you see the most payback to you and your family. And if it's a lot of agricultural related kind of stuff, I said, you're into that, you haven't had any money, you yourself as a dad, don't you want the scouts? So I guess if I was in your shoes as a dad, I'd probably make the decision to do it to the ag-related stuff in the Boy Scouts. What? You're not going to slow it? I said, I'm not saying I'm not slowing them. I'm just saying, you asked me how you spend your dollar. I said, yeah. And I said, it's your choice. I'm going to invite you because we talked about it and you said, send me stuff anyway. I said, I won't know what you did unless you hand me something and say, here, you send it to that voting department.
How does it run for that long now? I thought we were shut down 2 hours.
No, that's the telephone part, I think.
Oh.
I left the telephone on, well, it probably just went off now because we put it till 8, because I knew it was gonna be kind of long. There's no been any been on it yet, so. But this, my battery hasn't ran down, so it's still going.
Okay.
I'm putting you back on.
We ready?
now. Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to reconvene in open session at 8:07. No action from executive session. Let's see, so discussion of future agenda. Actually, you had something else?
Yeah, I do. It's a couple items. One, clarity on, we were talking about this before. So we have this call-in number that people participate in because they can't be here in person. Do we want to continue that?
That, I'll have to research to make sure, because I don't think that has changed.
Okay.
I will say too, also, if you didn't know, the municipal court, the restrictions on that has not changed.
So they're still Zooming?
Yes. We had our first one and it went pretty well.
Pretty good?
Nice.
Pretty well. And so the governor has not changed that either.
Okay.
So
So
but I
just
can
be
double
advised,
check.
yeah, as soon as she gets something back, we want to, no one participates on that phone. I mean, very rarely. So-
Very rarely.
I'll talk to our city
Rarely.
attorney just to make sure, sometimes it's a little harder even just to keep up with it than, and we do have, they can still watch the, meeting with the
Okay,
live stream, so I'll double check on that.
sounds good.
The other issue is I'm going to be out. I'm going to be working from home in Ennis on this Friday, and then I'm going to Disney World. I'm not an athlete. And I've ever been on, and I haven't even been there yet.
Really?
Really?
And I don't have.
I've been there 16 times.
I haven't bought flight tickets yet. Really?
I grew up in Florida.
Okay. I've
It's
never
just
been.
2 hours down the road. I mean,
I've never been. It's stupid expensive. Probably the last time I'll ever go. But it's a long overdue vacation for my oldest. I was talking to my wife on the phone earlier this afternoon, and I was talking about when we're going to get my daughter a laptop. She's going off to college at some point. And I said, well, when you'll come and live with us, or when you come back to live with me in the summer, we'll look at getting her a laptop. She said, your daughter may not be there. So what are you talking about? Well, the school she's looking at, she's going to go to summer, like she's going to start. Like, you're telling me she's going to go directly from Ennis to some school on the East Coast, and I'm not going to see her over the summer? She's like, yeah. I was like, I almost broke down right there. I was like, but I'm mad. I mean, she's so ready to leave us, and she loves us, but she's ready to leave. And I'm like, come on. Give your dad a break, man. I haven't seen her because I've been in Breckenridge and then here. So anyway, so this is, we're doing Disney World all week next week, Sunday
Good for
through
you.
Saturday.
Good for you.
And I may have to drive. I went to go buy tickets. They wanted.
it's not a bad drive.
They wanted IDs. My kids don't have IDs. So I was like, what do? So then I didn't buy the tickets. They were, I'm not gonna say how much they were, but they've gone up 5 times. They're
Really?
5 times as expensive today than they were when I first looked at them. So, yeah, I don't think we're flying.
Yeah,
I'm
if
gonna-
you
I'm
think,
gonna
it's
look
not a bad
early.
drive at all.
Yeah?
It
No.
really isn't.
18 hours? 16
bad.
hours?
I
Spend
drive
the
home
night
to
somewhere.
Florida.
Stop
all
in
the
Well,
Florida.
so I was planning on going to Pensacola. I was gonna stop in Pensacola
Yep.
on the way there.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, stop in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, every time we go and bring the kid out to college and everything, we make it to Pensacola. As soon as you get to that first exit for Pensacola, they have nice hotels right there.
Yeah, I've already booked
Yeah,
so I already booked a van and 2 hotel stays just in
Yeah,
case.
yeah.
That are refundable
So, and,
if I get a flight.
and they're nice hotels. They just redid them all. And then I-10's right there. You get on I-10, you take I-10 to I-75. I-75 brings you right down to Orlando.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking to a Floridian here, so yeah.
All right.
I can tell you all the back roads. And then
All right.
Kissimmee and all that
Those aren't
stuff.
back roads though. Those
I-10 is a back road.
I-75 is a back road.
Okay, all right.
Besides him being out, I'm out
So
Friday.
you're out for a week?
Okay.
And,
I'm out for a week
then
next
also,
Okay.
Leroy's out for a couple of days this week
Really?
for spring break.
Goodness,
I
you're all
was,
doing
I
this.
was going out for a wedding.
My
Good for you.
grandkids-
Good for
my
you,
grandkids
too.
are spending
I'm
home
just
at
a day.
Hope you
my
have a good
daughter's
time.
house, And,
I'm having COVID
she was at
today.
work all day today, so
Again.
the kids are
Are
working.
you
Her husband
serious?
is working from home, so,
I won't do my blood.
But she and I are heading out. We got a 2-day trip tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I gotta go pack.
All right.
Well,
All right, very exciting.
sounds like ain't gonna be many of us around.
So I'll probably leave, Leroy will be in charge the week I'm gone. Yeah, and if we're both out, which we're both gonna be out this Friday, Brian's gonna be in charge.
That works.
He didn't know that yet, but he will.
Will you just send us out a schedule just so that we're aware? And that way we're not calling you while you're on vacation?
So I shouldn't worry if I don't see your truck in the driveway?
Just send an email to us would be good enough for me,
Yep, that works.
because I'll forget,
All right, well, have a safe
but I'm
trip.
good.
Have fun. Text me also.
Enjoy your
Thank you.
daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll talk about the agenda and all of that stuff. We'll get it done ahead of time, so.
Enjoy the week with your daughter.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
your last week.
They're very excited.
Oh, good.
She's been, this will be her third time,
Oh, wow.
but she's the only one in the family that's been 3 times.
Oh, 'cause she gets to coach, that's good.
Cool. All right, do we have any agenda items?
I don't have
No, we got
anything.
enough
We
on
had
the
a-
calendar.
Yeah, we got a lot going
Exactly.
on.
I feel the same way.
Okay, I feel like we're really well
You're gonna
aligned.
bring
What-
back the report on the 23rd, or is it gonna be later?
On the,
Paper
paper
streets.
The paper
streets,
streets.
the 23rd.
It's okay.
I think.
Let's push it.
Let me let you know before then, because it's not done yet, and my schedule just got hammered. We just added 5 jobs today.
So let's just plan for April. For
Okay.
April the 9th, I think
Yeah,
is the first meeting.
let's push it out to April, okay.
Okay, I'll change it.
And one of the agenda item, it's kind of an agenda item we talked about before. I want to do the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem and council report. So any of I'd like it if you each, because I think you each have like a pet project that you're working on. If you could provide updates on that, if there's anything else, we got a lot of stuff going on, and I definitely need assistance with these things. So if you can grab one of those things and just commit to doing updates. I don't want to ask too much of the retired guy, because you're already doing a lot. So if you can provide any kind of updates, whether it's from the liaison board or whether it's another project that you're working on, I'd just like to make sure that we're getting updates out there, and it gives us a chance to talk about what's going on, letting people know. But I would like to get that on every agenda. I'll continue to put together more of the presentation style, high-level stuff. If you want to include it in that, that's cool. If you want to just give a verbal update, that's fine as well.
You got the chunk color handy?
Well, and if y'all have projects, I need to know the name of them.
Yeah.
I need to list them. We can't just talk about stuff. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
if you know you're gonna have time to
have a
talk
pet
on it, if
project
you'll
other than
send it
that.
to me.
Well, if
ahead
I
of
send him
time.
an update, he puts it in his report.
That would be good, though.
Well, he has to give me his items too.
We already beat up on him a lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
Anything else?
nope.
I think Sheena made a motion to adjourn.
Did I hear a motion to adjourn? We don't need a motion, right? Well, unless there's any additional discussion, we are now adjourned at 8:14.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
No problem.
Darren, I feel like I need to go with you to that bidding on Sunday,
Come on over.
if I can remember. You might have to rattle my cage.